we can go on right ahead. So, welcome everyone to the Weeklies 2023. This is week 6. Hexstabilized. Oh god, I already forgot it. Teuling's. What was it, Stephen? What was the name?
It whatever.
I have Teuling in my head.
Names are up to interpretation.
Damn it, Stephen left. I know it's not Teuling, but I forgot what Stephen said the correct way to say it was. It was like tolling or something. So, Teuling's Moors. So this is Gecko's puzzle. This is this is our second This is our second user submission for the week, for the year.
Damn, we're not users.
I can word. What do you mean? Teulings. Teuling. Okay, thank you, chat. Yeah, all right. Teuling's Moors. So do we have you at the moment, Gecko?
Yeah, right here.
All right. How did the puzzle come about?
This puzzle.
This is a very good puzzle, by the way.
I'm not sure where the original. So I made a series of a couple of puzzles where you couldn't touch Moors, and they were all themed around this Teuling person. And I think the original inspiration might have come from I don't remember who it was, but their dream where there was like a special atom that like couldn't be touched by this, but triplexed with that. And so I was what if you couldn't touch Moors?
I had no idea there was a connection to the Mad Master Dream Atom.
I think so. I was just thinking about special case atoms. And then for this puzzle, I said, what's the hardest cost puzzle I can possibly make? And so I chose some inputs and tried to make an output out of them. And then once that was done, we figured out that this pivot metric also felt kind of cool. So that's what we did.
That pivot metric was kind of cool.
It was, in fact, kind of cool.
As someone who only did the pivot metric and then tried 15 minutes of cost and thought, I don't see how to do this, and gave up. Yeah.
15 minutes. That sounds like very little time for a cost puzzle.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't really want to do cost.
Mm-hmm.
Your cost solves are always so cursed, though, Biggie. They're great.
Yeah. Love me some cursed, dubious cost puzzles.
Cursed cost. Alright.
Cursed cost.
Alright, kicking things off. Now, the first metric we'll be doing is the instructions pivots metric. So, just to explain a bit, your instructions that are grab, drop, and pivot don't count. Any other instruction will count. So
it's basically only.
In other words, it is, in theory, possible to get a 0 if you do a solve with nothing but grabs, drops, and pivots, which is possible for this puzzle. If the regents were single atom, it would not be possible. There are also consumption glyphs that make it not possible, like the purification glyph. Stuff like that. But this puzzle features no such shenanigans, so it is possible to make the whole thing, in theory, with a score of 0. But we will be starting at 19th place with a score of 34. This submitted by Filthy Casual. Welcome back to the Weeklies.
The header says team still not a Jasper.
What's up?
The header says team still not a Jasper.
Team still not a Jasper.
Who did you put in the team?
What? I loaded Filthy Casual. What the heck?
Huh? Check your teams.
Check my teams. Teams? Oh, Filthy Casual. I did not put that in any team. Give me a sec. Sorry, people.
Well, it's currently displaying a 566 I-star metric, so it's someone who you need to pass to get to Filthy Casuals.
That's the very top one, which I didn't load anyway. That worked. That was a weird bug. Whatever. I don't know how that happened, but no, that was like the very, very top solution. It obviously is not a instructions solve. that one, but this one is.
This one's a cost solve.
It's a bit hard to tell, actually. There were 2 solves in this. There were 2 solves submitted by Filthy Casual, and this is the one with the less instructions. There is another one.
Yeah, the solve didn't change, everyone. This is just changing what the header says, because you can see this looping. It doesn't have a long tape loop. It can't have 566 I star. It has 34 of them.
Alright. Nevertheless, we'll come back to it. That's a cost solve. This next one is not a cost solve. Submitted by 7T Storm in 18th place. There we go. That is decidedly not cost.
Decidedly
It's
not
got
cost.
so many track moves.
No rotates, though. Granted that.
Did she think that track moves were also allowed without penalty?
I mean, when you submit, it kind of tells you, so
One thing
Hey
I can
guys,
see right away is
well,
if you make arm
that you
3
can check.
if you make arm 3 length 2, you can pivot that input into its position instead of moving twice.
Yeah, everyone, you can, in case you didn't know, you can check the metrics before you press the submit button. That's the site tells you. So if there's anything off, be sure to check that.
Kelly Reese is mentioning you could get down to 1 with a giant track loop. An astute observation, that.
Yes.
I don't think, I'm not sure if something like that popped up in Showcase or if we're actually going to see something like that. That would be cool.
Maybe.
This is showing kind of the way that makes sense to solve this puzzle, though. Like, you take the pair of vitae off of a pair of Moore's vitae in like a parallelogram. That way you already have the Moores where you want them to be without touching them.
So yeah, tricky little bonding, debonding sequence to do when your only real functional command is a pivot. I'm expecting to see a lot of like glyph oceans, as in like bonder, debonder, bonder, debonder, and just have like a sea of these, just to like help fix the bonding, debonding problem. Yes, the most useful glyph sea.
Is Redstone Paradox... have we seen Redstone Paradox off yet?
Sorry?
Redstone Paradox is asking, like, if their solve should have appeared yet. Let me go check.
Their solve is next.
I'll check for you.
It's
It's next, okay. Yeah, there you go. They're asking in the Discord.
Oh, okay. Well, here it is. I may as well just show it. That's a good a segue as any. So this is a score of 4.
Yeah, apparently, I think they assumed that was 0. But most people, they assume that, like, if not 0, last place.
Yeah, see, whenever we do a metric where it's possible to score 0, everyone is immediately thinking, I have to get 0, because that's just how this community functions.
Yeah.
So this solve, it's careful with its rotates. It still needs a few. Arm 1 does 3, and then Arm 6 does 1, and they are hex arms so that they don't have to reset, incurring a further rotate penalty. But yeah, same basic idea. I'm sorry.
You could deliver the output with more pivots instead of with that rotate. It'd just take more time to clear out of the way. It wouldn't be possible with pivots on the hex arm. They would need another arm next to the Catelli to do pivots. But it's interesting how many of these cases where it seems like you would want a pivot are actually avoidable. Or something that isn't a pivot are actually avoidable.
I guess a good example is this first rotate. What you could, I'm guessing, do is it have, say, arm 2 pivot like that, Put like an arm 7, like here
Are
or
you
here or
about to
something.
grab Moors?
Oh, right, that grabs more. Never mind.
Zorflax.
I'm one of the hosts and I forgot the basic premise of the puzzle.
How
Oh,
dare
good
you
lord.
have them fours.
Good lord. Oh.
You should install a Don't Grab Moors mod if you don't have
I
it.
think I did install it. Wait. Do I have don't grab? Yes, it's on. It is actually on.
So you would
It
have
is
been
on,
embarrassed
so
when you attempted
If
to
you forget again, it would just tell you.
Oh. Oh. You'd be surprised how recently I got out of bed, people.
It's fine.
Please don't judge me too badly.
Barely out of bed at 5 p.m. Zorflax
5 p.m. Ah, yes.
on a Friday.
So one thing that we see in this solution that we'll see different times is like, how do you construct the molecule? And see, here we see it like makes a little brick of the vitae and the Moors, and then it shifts that one vitae over. So that's one construction that we'll probably see.
That has very lustrous syrup energy.
Once again, lustrous syrup, the most important cost tech, puzzle tech in a long time.
It's just free wanding with a single arm. I love it.
Alright,
Oh yeah, we have Steven construction.
we do. Next up, we actually do hit min primary. Already. It's, this will be a host solve though. We have been blessed with a Steven solve this week. Note
We are blessed.
note where it says big brain in the title. It's worth keeping that in mind.
I was wondering if it would be a big brain.
Now we're cooking with gas.
Wait, is it all period 4?
It is all period 4.
Steven, of course, is period 4.
That's genuinely impressive.
Yeah.
Didn't
This
even
looks
want
like-
anything.
No, this looks more like Africa than a brain.
Actually does look a lot more like Africa.
It's actually period 3, but Steven has put a useless reset instruction at the end.
Oh yeah, and you know,
No.
there are arms that kind of like pivot back and forth to also make it 4.
It's the hex arms that actually make it period 4. None of the pivots actually need period 4. It's just the useless hex arms that make it period 4.
Well, I mean,
If you made it
they
period 3,
have
though, it would be
useless
grabbing
reset
more.
instructions too.
To be
Yeah.
fair, that might actually break the solve. If I just get rid
It
of the...
absolutely would. There's grabs that require it
Yeah.
not to be grabbed in
Mhm.
the arm.
This
Oh,
entire
you revealed
solve is a
Critelli.
clusterfuck. Oh no!
Oh no!
No,
I've ruined the...
Critelli is right there, right next to the... right next to the perfect spot for the one equilibrium glyph. Come on.
No, I want to actually get rid of... There we go. There we go. I just want to see if this works at period... Actually, it's still period 4. Why is it still period 4?
There's resets
Because
after
there are
each
hard
drop.
reset instructions. Also, there are more arms.
Oh, I'm
Oh no, you just didn't remove them fully.
it's too much effort.
It's still period 4 because all the arms have useless reset instructions.
That's... That's certainly an inclusion.
I didn't think I'd get y'all with that one.
The less I talk about the reset instruction, the better for everyone else.
Yeah, it probably won't work. Like, look at these fucking pivots. Come on.
No, period 3 it won't... no, I'm pretty sure it won't work because...
Yeah.
Because then arms can't pass things off without...
Yeah.
At least I don't
Are
think
there
they can.
any pivot glitches in this? Is there any piston grabbing both directions?
Doesn't look like it.
No? Pretty sure there's not a single piston that actually overlaps.
Oh,
Well,
slow
okay,
down.
they all overlap, but you get what I mean.
The grabbers don't.
I also like the calcifiers and unnecessary debonders and all the like. That's good.
Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, they should all
All that
roughly...
there.
Hold on.
What's up?
Can you stop the stall for a bit?
Stop the solve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they should all roughly follow a pattern to all the bonder and debonder glyphs.
The bonder and debonder glyphs.
They're all roughly in one direction. Well, you know,
A lot
following from the top left to the bottom right, roughly.
Oh, they're all facing a certain direction. What are they facing?
Are they
In the
all
middle, however,
useful?
this didn't work out, but...
Wait, how many of these are actually useful? I just realized a lot of these just aren't useful.
I mean, you can iteratively remove them if you want to, but I don't suggest it. I do really like the input bit, though. That's my favourite part of this entire machine. That was me attempting to work out, how do I grab 2 of this input while only grabbing 1 of this input in period 4? And having
Input
it in the...
suppression tech is great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is very impressive.
It's a Stephen solve.
Mm-hmm.
It's like impressive, but like it does awful on the metrics. I mean, it's min primary though.
He did
Yeah,
pretty
So
well
there's
in this week's
going for
metric.
it. But
See, it's
like,
min
it's
primary.
259 cycles.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay. From now on, I'll just be reading the cycle count, because obviously we're at min primary.
Now, obviously, it goes into -1.
Yeah, -1.
Mm-hmm.
Steven at min. I'm surprised this isn't another Steven at min primary and somehow beats several people again.
No, look, the cycles are normal this time.
Or, why is it called stabilized Moors if there's just as much Moors as Vitae? It's the salt that stabilizes them. Also with that, we will move on. Alright, so... starting our min primary cycles drop, we go to 84 cycles by please, 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 lol.
Yes, just removing a whole digit.
It's gonna casually drop down
Look
just
at
a
those
digit.
arms. Is that a waist chain? Oh, it has to be because there's twice as
think
much
that's
salt
a
as there
waist
needs to be in this.
Check out that pivot waist chain though.
Hmm. Oh, come on. You could have done it wasteless, easily.
Yeah, but getting the next input out quickly enough. Although
Wow.
this pattern takes 5 cycles to clear the salt inlet, or the salt input, so it's going to take 10 cycles to make an output. Anyway.
You could have at least used another bonder to, you know. No, bad idea.
I guess, so at this point, alright, so we've already hit the point where we are constructing and outputting the entire thing without anything other than a pivot. So this will be the rest of the metric. So from here it's a cycles race. So first thing to look at with cycles is the rate. And the rate in this puzzle is dictated by how quickly you can clear the inputs. So you need 2 of one and 1 of the other. And because you're necessarily pivoting, you can't clear the inputs off the reagent hole immediately. So it's a kind of a bit of a race to try and get them off the input as fast as you can.
Yeah, the theory limit is 3 cycles because grab, pivot, drop. While you're dropping, the input can, in theory, become clear, and you can repeat that every third to get an output every 6. Each input grabbed every 2.
Mm-hmm. I just want to mention that almost every single one of these items seems to be pivoting in downtime.
Yeah, they're doing a little whirly.
Mm-hmm. As they should be.
There's not like there isn't a clear oh no, there's a couple here, but I think those are like the only blank instructions are out of necessity. If arms can be pivoting, they will be. A great inclusion.
Oh, I missed the opportunity to have all of my pivot arms pivot back, you know, to maintain.
A pivot reset.
Yes, make sure you don't overclock your pivots.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to scroll back on Weekly chat to see the person who first posted the pivot back instruction tray. It just made me laugh.
Gotta rewind your pivots so you don't break your pistons.
Biggie, that
And
was
obviously
me.
you're pivoting with pistons.
Mhm.
Biggie, that was me. I posted that one.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
The solve has infinite rate. It actually doesn't have a rate because it crashes. If it just like didn't crash but didn't output ever again, that would be infinite rate. But if it crashes, it just straight up doesn't get one.
Yeah, I guess when we're talking about rate, we're talking about the time in between the same thing happening in the core of the machinery instead of the formal definition of rate, which is
Yeah. I guess I'm just using it informally to be like, how often is this outputting until we get to the validation screen?
Could you move the saw all the way back to overlap the input, and therefore give this a rate? Could that be done?
Alright, to give this a
just
rate,
pass it back over the input so that it Oh, that's great.
I was gonna turn on... if we had disposal, I could have used my fancy Infinifactory glyphs to give this a rate, but...
You can turn it on now. You have the power.
Can I just... Does it still work if I just turn on?
Yeah, you have the power to change the puzzle.
Aha! I do have the power to change the puzzle. I can just do, like, that. Alright, not there. Not there either. Actually...
Every single one of them is going to just delete a single atom and have the other one. So you need to have it, like, on top of an arm, yeah.
I think you might need two of them.
Not every single thing you will do will leave one atom stranded.
I can't do it! I've been defeated
Single
by the
atoms
pivots.
will fail in a pivots only metric.
I can't do it!
Single atoms will fail, and you're currently causing it to always have a single atom. You just can't.
I just can't. Nah. I don't think it's happening. Yeah. Nah, it's not happening. Nah, not happening. Sorry. Can't give it a rate.
Just point lasers at the entire solve. Easy. Point a laser at the entire array of arms.
No more arms for you.
I mean, I'd also have the power to, like, make one of the arms just rotate and then have a laser, but then that'd just be kind of cheating. That's okay. I don't want to get myself sidetracked too much. I think I'm just going to move on. Coming down to 15th place at 78 cycles, we have Cold Calzone. Much more compact, so I get to zoom right back in.
As many pronouns as you can manage. Oh, she's asking for something.
Imagine we could manage quite a few pronouns.
So we see a different assembly in this one. In please is please is like broke it into 2, 2, and 2. This one like needs to rotate part of the Vitae Mors by Vitae Mors 180 degrees.
So it just makes the ring first, and then just like does a 180 degree rotation with one of the Vitae Mors pairs, the one in the middle, just to like reconfigure it, basically. Much more compact than the last solve, which is, yeah, I know, it doesn't feel as fast as the last solve, but it is definitely faster.
He saved a lot on latency for sure.
Yeah, it's all come down to latency.
It's actually 11R, so it is slower than the previous solve's inner workings, but it does just put the output on the output.
Oops, wrong ring.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you can't actually hold Moors, it's impossible to build the right ring first try, right?
I believe it's impossible.
Also just because you have Vitae bonded to Moors, which you won't have twice in your output. That's the actual reason.
Why is this adding all the bonds to the intermediate ring? So why does it do this in the end? I think it's to just make the one contiguous shape, so it can just move the shape down to the bottom part, and then do, as we described, the reconfiguration by swapping the Vitae and the Moors.
You only need 5 bonds to make it contiguous, but you absolutely need the 2 bonds that it makes to join it, because it's going to have to bond that Vitae to that solve. The only bonds that need to be broken are in between the inputs that come bonded. So you have to make all the bonds and break all the bonds anyway.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, because the bonds it's making here to the salt are very important bonds. Alright. Having a bit of a move on. We drop down 8 more cycles to 70 cycles with Witch Push. Nice observation in the title. 1 plus pivot equals rotate.
Now we got an initialization solve.
Okay, so this is going to be a very common tactic. It's especially powerful for cycles, which is set up initialization, and then it's funny how semi-solves do this, but notice arm 7, it does like 6 pivots in a row. You just have this pivot arm that just does the same pivot, and that moves it across like a glyph C. So it just like makes the right bonds so that it stays one shape after the debonds, and then has it debonding itself so that the one can be reused. With the Teuling's Moors in a much more helpful state, and then it's just a bit of surgery. And from there, it's a matter of how elegantly can you make that happen, right? Because surgery, it's a matter of how many bonds you make and how many debonds you have to make. How can you make the geometry work?
I'm curious as Rubik says how this loops. Is there like a conditional input suppression? Oh no, arm 1 just remains grabbed forever. That's interesting. And so does arm 3. So the arms that would be providing the wand are grabbed forever afterwards.
So you can see these first 3 solves in the these first 3 arms in the instruction tray, they all have a grab after they've finished their work. That's so that they don't, that's so that like it locks it in on a grab where it's not actually touching anything, and that grab will never be undone in a place where it can grab something. So with that, those 3 arms will just never get in the way ever again. And so that's how you can get away with initialization without ruining the solve's rate.
For a minute, I was considering having an area tertiary, but with all the wanding that I thought people might do, I'm glad I ended up going with cost.
Yeah, I think cost was the right call. I thought, yeah, both metrics, secondaries and tertiaries, were pretty spot on. I do think, because in this puzzle in particular, because it was, for the hardcore optimizers out there, one of the more approachable puzzles we've had this year, tertiary ends up mattering. Okay, so
When I couldn't improve tertiary any further, I just optimized for none of the arms have their arms across other arms unless they need to.
Alright, so do expect to see more of this tactic. It will be a very useful one as we continue to move forward. Moving on, we have a couple of cycles to drop. We don't have a 69 cycle solve, but we have a 68 cycle solve by Yosh. Me when I pivot. Whoa. Whoa. Where am I? Whoa. OMF, OMR, OME. Oh, those are the legal instructions.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Jeez.
That's right. No area tertiary means we can have works of art. That's right.
No area tertiary. M to map. Oh, this is an example of the map function being useful. There you go. Thank you, Mr. Puzzle.
It looks quite good in the map, honestly.
Alright, I forgot the command to get rid of the map. Uh-oh. It's not M, it's escape, that's it. Okay, so no initialization on this one. I do this is a pretty clever way to fix the wrong bonds. Have arm 5 kind of pivot back. So first of all, we'll have the 6 atom shape come out like this, like hook shape. Arm 4 will debond, and arm 5 will rebond the vitae with each other in a configuration that still keeps that 120 degree shape, so that you can keep one of the Moors on and just bonds the two Moors back together. And then from there, it's just making the last bond. So I think this is a pretty clever solve.
Yeah, this looks really good. I love that it is doing surgery in a looping way.
Yeah, this is nice. And one thing to keep in mind that I saw.
I want to say one thing.
Yeah.
I optimized for maximum near misses with the atoms nearly missing the arm bases.
So you put the arms in the most dramatic places available. I see arm 6
Exactly.
get a really close swing from arms 5.
Arm 6 is a pretty
And
dramatic
also-
one.
And also arm 4 gets one when arm 3 pivots it. It's like, will it hit? No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Just
well
no area means you can do fun things like that.
No, it's pretty clutch because yeah, even if area did matter, like stuff like that can. I don't think it matters. Arm placement doesn't seem to matter much this week, so at this point it's just a novelty. But when you're doing like a cycle solve, and you really need an arm on a specific hex, and you can just get one there because of a near miss, that shit is really satisfying. So that can matter. Not this week, but yeah. Some good tech. Optimized for soonest collision due to floating point imprecision. Technically, it's optimized for will crash the soonest on my machine because I think my Opus Magnum, because I'm running a modded version, this one has overclocking. So there you go. If we just if we hang tight for the next what, day or two, we might see a collision. You people can hang on for that long, right? Uh-oh. Am I still there? Okay, we are back, everyone. Okay, we are back, everyone. Oops. Okay. Alright, apologies for that interruption, everyone. Yeah, some some kangaroo chewed through my internet cable, so I had to plug in one of my backups. Do we have a pivot of the week yet? Not yet. We don't. I have an idea for what I think will be pivots of the week, though. All right. Sorry, I'm a little out of rhythm at the moment. I'm just gonna move on to the next solve. I hope we can find our rhythm, and I'm gonna really start getting worried if that happens again. Moving on, down to 66 cycles, we have the host solve, Gecko.
This looks 6p to me. Oh, it's speeding up at the end with a wand. That's interesting.
Part of the way I was thinking about this metric was since you need 2 of the Moore's output, but only 1 of the salt output, you can move the other one and move it further along to wand in the future. So that's what I was thinking about here.
Yeah, it looks like you keep the same rate, but you cut the latency down by a lot on the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th outputs. I found wands way more helpful for improving rate than improving latency, but that's a very cool thing you did.
Thank you.
So yeah, I like the initialization of this one in particular. Just having this like wand come onto this journey at the bottom.
One thing that you'll notice that I think we've seen before and we'll see again is the sort of like make a brick that can be made into the output with just a single pivot of a 2 molecule to align with the rest of the 4. We'll see that again.
I do like the first few actually being outputted without the wand before introducing the wand. But yeah, I suppose another thing we should be keeping an eye out for is just how the surgery is working here. So here it's clumped up in a very compact shape, with emphasis on getting the vitae and specifically the vitae isn't bonded to each other, but the Morse is bonded to each other early, so that the vitae that is in the exact middle can be kind of just pivoted once and fixed up.
Yeah, so this is geometry that can be solved with 1 pivot to make the output.
And then from there, it's just getting that last damn bond and outputting and trying to cut the latency from there. Alright. Continuing to move on, we have 12th place. We jump down a few cycles to 63 cycles with Random Guest. Alright, so back to no initialization.
This is an Amogus shaped intermediate.
Sauce.
7 rate, right? This is good.
Yeah, this manages 7 rate. It does have quite a few rebonding steps though, like the latency suffers because it first has to put the salt on the right spot with respect to the vitae, and then it has to put the 3 on the right spot with respect to the other 3.
Yeah, the Amogus intermediary into so I guess the strategy here is Amogus into question mark into output. The Amogus is actually quite an inconvenient starting point.
It's great because you can get it at 7R, but it's not great because you need so many latency to solve it.
Yeah, it's a lot better for rate than it is for latency.
And that was actually a fun thing to find a trade-off between, because if you wanted to find the most convenient shape that you could build, you might end up suffering a lot on latency.
Was the obvious number revealed yet? I think I know the number people are talking about, and the answer is no. Let me read the notes for this one. This is a cycles puzzle with extra steps. Theory min is rate 6. While the 6-atom monomer can be assembled within a 6-cycle loop, I couldn't find a way for pivots to clear it off the bonders fast enough, so 7 rate it is. Latency could possibly be improved, but keeping the molecule in place long enough to do meaningful work on it while still clearing it fast enough so as not to run into the next input is a difficult challenge. Requiring more pivots regrabs than the operations necessary to assemble the output might suggest. Right, so it's basically the demanding rate here has kind of necessitated the uncomfortable surgery here. Was it obvious to anyone other than Biggie and Grimmy? Good question. I don't think the number was obvious. I just think it was, I don't know, for many people a natural stopping point, and then people didn't stop there anyway, so...
I have no idea what they meant by obvious. Like,
yeah, no, I don't think you were ever talking about an obvious number. I think I know what the obvious number is, but I don't think you ever described it as obvious.
There's just such a diversity of intermediates, so I can't think, like, there's an obvious best cycles for a given approach, but who's to say one approach is obvious?
Yeah, I think the word obvious is being bent a little bit, personally. everything below a certain number. I think these are already very impressive. Like, it's like, even look at this solve. It is very not obvious how to improve this, because as random guest mentioned, 7 rate's a good rate, and from there it's already uncomfortably fast to have to deal with all the extra surgery.
Yeah, my first solve was 7 rate with bad latency, and when Genius tightened it up, he made a 7 rate with better latency, and I was impressed. Like, oh wow, wait, you can just do that. And then I found something better than that.
Yeah, just to give you people an example of just how not obvious any of this is. Biggie's first solve, which she sent to me and was pretty impressed with, was 5 cycles worse than this.
Yeah, I was seeing when Yosh sent in a 68, I was like, well, shoot, day one, I was like, I'm proud of my 68.
Yeah, you were proud of your 60. It was a good ass. It looks cool. It was a cool ass 68, but then Genius 42 actually improved it. Had a look at it.
Yeah, Genius chunked a bunch of cycles off.
Genius 42's power level continues to increase with every weekly. All right.
One thing I think that Random Guest has done really well is he has, like, for me, the final bond was an absolute pain. But here it's just right next to the output, and it's just kind of made, like, as it outputs, so that's done really well here.
Yeah, a lot of people struggle with that damn last bond. Yeah. Arm 9's just got an extra pivot just to give Arm 10 the right positioning, and it is really nice how snugly the output fits in between all those arms doing work. Actually, there's a lot of near misses with arms on this solve as well. Arm 7 nearly, or not nearly, that's not nearly. But Arm 9 very nearly collides there. And then these arms are kind of nestled next to the output, which makes it look pretty sweet, actually. Alright. Moving on to 11th place, we drop down another 7 cycles to 56.
Wow.
We have Team Still Not a Jasper.
Oh, we got a Hex on.
This is 7 with less latency than Genius's version, which is a 59.
Very cool cost saving tactic, I think, this X-Arm. Okay, so I should probably
cool it's doing the same pivots in 2 places perfectly.
Okay, so this does the compact clumping. No initialization on this one. It'll just clump the 6 together, and very nicely placed D bonders means all the wrong bonds are kind of handled pretty quickly. And this time the Vitae's bond is maintained with itself, so that the Vitae pair needs to be pivoted instead of like a Vitae salt pair. Which I think we saw in at least one other solve. More than one, I think. And the last bond is actually made very quickly here. It's actually outputting itself, which is slightly annoying.
I mean, yeah, when you're holding on to the atom that is on a glyph, you cannot proceed to output from there.
Unfortunately, ARM5 can't do all the work. What is that equilibrium covering up? Critelli's there, so I don't think it's covering anything.
It's covering up governmental corruption.
It's covering up the UFOs.
Oh, it looks like this solve is also taking the quaternary that I chose of try to minimize the number of times that arms cross each other. So I was thinking, well, why wouldn't arm 5 be up in the higher position where it could be? And I was like, oh, but then it would cross other arms.
In fact, it might accidentally grab the salt input too while it's at it.
Oh, you're totally right. That's a legitimate reason.
That's an actual reason. Alright. We finally make our way to top 10. And I haven't actually done it this year, but do people want to speculate on a top 3? As I move on to 10th place.
I don't know. There's no way that I'm in the top 3 if we're at 56 outside of the top 10, but it's so hard to believe anything could be faster than mine.
Alright, I will leave the question. Alright, so we have one guess for top 3. Who the other people are, anyone's guess. I guess we'll find out in good time. In 10th place...
Rolomny mentioned that they put in a short effort and they're probably going to get second with it or something.
that would be a typical Rolomny thing to do. Just be like, no, I didn't really spend much time on this puzzle, and oh yeah, by the way, you like wins or something anyway. What's Theorymin? Good question. I never actually calculated it. Considering the 0 primary. Do you have a guess on that, or an estimate on that one, Biggie?
I mean, n equals 12, but you have to multiply by 3, so it's 36 plus a bunch of latency, and I would say probably 45, 46 is min, but I don't know.
I think that's as good a guesstimate as any. It's really hard because it's a question of geometry, and whenever it's a question of geometry, Theorymin just becomes annoying to calculate. Yeah, all in latency. Alright, moving on in 10th place, we have, dropping down a single cycle to 55, Team Side Jondras. Is 7R the way to go? Is the question posed by the solution title.
Oh, this looks identical to the previous solution.
This is really similar.
ARM 6 so that it saves both cost and 1 latency.
Yeah, I think John actually called it out earlier in the chat that their team solve looks very similar to the previous solve. Same idea, but we're just able to cut 1 latency. I think it's on the last... Here, the last bond gets made in a very convenient way, and it outputs the very next cycle.
I think there's just like the different number of handoffs. I think the one that is saved is ARM 6, actually. Like ARM 6 is able to perform the pivot back to make the full product so that the other ARM gets to save the handoff timing. Because ARM 6
Yeah.
While arm 7 is grabbing. And
No,
something
that's a
that
good point.
Radius didn't do.
That's a good point.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's smooth.
That's a neat cycle save. I think that earns the top 10 spot. That 36 plus L is assuming 6R. Yeah, it does assume 6R.
Yeah, when we're talking theory, I have to assume 6R. But also, I don't know of a way to get 6R without a wand setup, which can't happen. It's like it adds some latency to get the wand out before you start moving it in R. Oh, Kelly says 6R without wands isn't too bad. Maybe I'm just tripping, and maybe Kelly has the 37 or whatever.
It comes out with like a 40 cycle solve. Alright. Moving on. We will be jumping down to equal 7th place. We have a few names to read out. First is Rolamni. So the tie score is 0 instructions, 54 cycles, 240 G.
Wow.
An area did not matter.
Is this obvious?
I actually didn't think. I think this is one of the quote-unquote obvious numbers because a lot of people landed on it.
Here we can see that in that final construction, it's again pivoting a 2-atom molecule to finally attach it, but it does like 2 pivots instead of 1, just because of how the atoms are set up. And I think that's done in a way that it like moves it towards the output to get out of the way of other stuff, which is really neat.
I think it's a question of number of handoffs again. I think there are just less handoffs in this one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's like arms 5 and arms 6 keep it moving 3 actions at a time, and so if you were able to have each pivot arm handle 3 cycles worth of action, that's pretty impressive.
Are these tie solves actually the same or just same stats? I think they're just same stats. I don't think. We'll have a look. Actually, before I move on to one of the other ones, we'll read the notes real quick. Rolamni writes, 6R should be possible, but I don't know if it can be faster. Sadly, I won't have much time to investigate, so this 90-minute effort has to be enough for me. Casual reminder, Rolamni is an insanely good player at this game.
Rolamni has the time-efficient solution Pareto down.
Yeah, he's definitely the most time-efficient player, I think, I can name, anyway.
If there was like a half marathon speed solve category, I think that'd be pretty good for Rolani.
If there was like a 2 or 3 hour time limit on a puzzle, I think Rolamni dominates.
Yeah.
Alright, one of the others was submitted by Mr. Puzzle. Moment of truth. No, it is not the exact same solve. But it is the same method. Actually, is it the exact same solve?
It has the arms on the different side, but it's doing the exact same thing, including arm 6, which is doing a pivot, weight, pivot. Like, it's the same. This is the same.
Oh, pretty much, yeah, it is. It is just rotated 180 degrees with the arms in different spots.
You have so many freedoms to place the arm bases, but the arm grabbers are the same.
Okay, we'll breeze through these. Read the notes. Mr. Puzzle writes, pivot only means it's hard to get stuff off the input quickly. Wands to the rescue, especially useful here since we need salt only half as often. Pivot only min rate can get as low as 6, but my attempt had such a bad latency that the first output would have been on cycle 64-ish. I like how this turned out.
If anyone, I didn't ever find a 6R until I was using wands. Oh, I love the map. Okay.
Rotate, rotate, rotate. Okay. One more. Submitted by Hexstabilized. Is this the same solve?
No.
It has slightly different pathing, but the same general structure.
Yeah, actually kind of
Arm 7
different.
is doing a pivot back instead of a double pivot.
Very slightly different. Same general idea, though. Just kind of, yeah, as Biggie says, different pathing.
Downtime pivots, too. I love it. Every arm does an even number of pivots for the parity metric.
Nice. We have reset pivots, people. Reset pivots.
The pivot back that arm 7 does allows the output arm to grab, like, and then move it right after that Vitae pair gets into place, which is really slick.
Yeah, I like the way
I
this
think
one
all of them have
outputs.
actually done that. Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. I was gonna say I like how this one outputs. I think this kind of, there are more handoffs at the start, but yeah, the output is slicker. Area
We
coordinator.
gotta find Dreamy and tell us what the obvious cycle count was, and if it was 54.
Alright, so I think I can reveal it. Before I do that, read the notes real quick. So, Hexstabilized types collectively. In this solve, we tried to balance rate, min 6, with a geometry that would make quote-unquote fixing the Vitae section of the ring as easy as possible. This intermediate was by far the easiest for Vitae fixing and gets the job done at 1p7. Wow, using the full P notation. I like it. We dallied with P6, but construction was vastly more difficult, so we didn't explore it deeply. So they're phrasing rate as actually the period number. So it's period 7, because 7R, and it outputs 1 per period. So 1p7 is the way you would put that. Okay. So the number that I think, so Grimmy's first soul, yeah, Grimmy were in the mid to high 50s, then submitted a couple of 54s. We then had like Grimmy alongside a bunch of people submit a 50 cycle solve. I don't actually have any to show because everyone who submitted a 50 improved it to 49.
Oh, wild.
And I mean, like, I got 8 submissions for a 50, but I can't show any of them because, yeah, none of them are actually scoring. So I think the obvious number was 54 or 50, depending on who you ask. Improving from 50 to 49 seems like it took a lot of people a lot of effort, but you're not going to see any of that
That's
effort.
the number I just found after 59. I
Yeah.
went 59 from genius to 49.
Okay, so you're not going to see any of that effort though, because in 6th place we move straight to 49 cycles, with Bambi.
What a jump.
So it's a cost puzzle at 59 or 49 cycles now?
Yeah, I may as well just go with it. Yes, it is a cost puzzle now. So, no one got below 49 cycles.
Well, that makes me feel good about thinking 49 was as fast as it could go.
I think we can safely describe 49 as practical min. So from here, these are all going to be 49 cycle solves, so I will be reading out the cost from now on. So we're starting here at 530G. So
This has some of the Bambi-esque cleverness to build a first output and kind of like wand it out into an odd one out pipeline. Like it's trying to save the cycles that it takes to get the wand started by making an extra output off to the side, which means that like if you odd one out my solve, you might be able to get like a 45, because my solve doesn't do that odd one out thing at all.
Shit.
Mine doesn't grab the first Vitae Moore's input until cycle 5.
maybe we got some post-stream exploration to do then to see if we actually can get it below 49. But yeah, this one, odd one outs one of the inputs, which, yeah, it's funny. We're still only using pivots, but we still have access to odd one out tech.
We live in a post-rotate, expand, track move society. Fumbled on that one too.
Society when pivots.
I know last year's tournament was all about the society had ran out of low-level metals. Maybe the society runs out of rotate instructions for next year's tournament.
Watch this space. Okay. So, interested to see... So, the cycle count's not going to improve, but from here it's a matter of cost. So, we're going to take a bit of a cost drop down from 530 to 270 with Grimmy.
Jeez, okay, I barely eclipsed Grimmy.
So, you notice a lot less machinery.
Are all of these necessarily 6R now? Is there no 7R that can make 49?
I don't remember seeing one. I might be proven wrong, but I think it's 6R from now on. So yeah, this is as fast as it gets, and you can kind of see why as this plays out, because it is the Vitae Moors regent that is limiting, and it is also covered by a lot of arms.
The space of 49s is huge. If this and the previous and mine are all 49s, they're all so different. There can't be no 48.
And you can see these are all immediately wandered off as soon as they bond, which is like the first pivot you can do. So yeah, this is the min rate for this particular constraint on the puzzle. Also, I don't think this is the only solve that does this, but I'm willing to call pivots of the week on arm 1 the whirligig pivot. I know that we haven't had much Burlo Spinny in the weeklies this year, but we do still have Spinny.
Oh, arm 1's not the one holding the whirligig. It's one of the ones that's covered up.
Oh, duh. Yeah, no, you're right. Arm 1's not a length 4 arm, turns out.
It's arm 6, you can see in the instruction tray. Yeah, I've got one of those in my 49. It's probably next too, because I'm only 260 G. I'm right next to this. No one's gonna place 5 gold worth of anything.
It's true.
Is it a 4-place tie or something?
It's a no. So tied for 3rd place, we move on to Team 42.
Cool. I'm on the podium. I'm sharing a spot with someone. Who is it?
Very, very similar to Grimmy's, actually.
Yeah, but it's not using a larger region. It doesn't grab the Vitae Moors until cycle 5, as I said.
It doesn't. No, it actually does not grab the limiting region until cycle 5.
That's why I thought maybe an odd one out might do something, but you also can't get to the other side of the bonder with anything.
Yeah, how do you...
has to clear the input as quick as possible.
Yeah, how do you odd one out this particular idea, really?
I don't think you do. I just think Bambi had the odd one out ability, and this one doesn't. It's tight without it.
I know we've seen a lot of a method where the almost finished output gets debonded into a 4-atom and a 2-atom chunk, but here it's 3 and 3. Big Issue's chosen that, and that's been successful.
Yeah, this is the only way I found to get 6R because I was not as thorough with exploring it as I probably should have been, but I was doing other stuff this week. Regardless, it was easy to see how to convert it into the output. I just needed to get it all in position.
Odd one out is hard when output gets covered for so long. That is a good point. I'm amazed Bambi even pulled off odd one out in the first place. Yeah, watching these solves makes me a believer in the Sorry. Makes me a believer in this, like, 3-3 debonding way. Just to split it off in halves that are all, like, 120-degree bends. Definitely looks the slickest, I'll give it that. So, you know, the vibes say it's good, but...
I'm wondering if the tie was a similar solve or if there's a big difference somehow.
Alright, let's have a look. So the other third place solve, submitted by Ebenov.
They were named Wee and Whoosh. That's great. It's the exact same. It's the 3 and 3.
It's actually
just a
the
different
exact
placement
same.
of the wand.
It's actually the exact same.
Cool. Yeah, we found the quote-unquote obvious method for this.
Alright, I'll read the notes for this one. Fun fact, the wand has to spin in this spectacular way. Oh, by the way, this whirligig pivot is my pick for pivot of the week, even though there's a lot more than one pivot. That's just my pick. Fun fact, the wand has to spin in this spectacular way, otherwise we get the BS collision with rotating salt.
Yeah, absolutely. And notice the same. You couldn't go 3 forwards, 3 back because of BS.
Looking back, I feel that comparing to establishing that 6R is min rate and that 6R requires wanding, it's more about finding a wanding setup that has not too many ones in an accessible place, so initialization doesn't take like 15 cycles, and wanding in easy to work with intermediary. I got to this wand from trying to reduce a wand-free 8R that was like 56 cycles on this intermediary to 7R. This 49 cycle solve still loses a delivery latency to that 56 due to the drop-off debonder taking up delivery space, but I didn't quite expect 6R until I got it. That being said, shaving that delivery latency might be possible and highly geometric, so nothing obvious. On the other end, I tried wanding the wand into place using the first product salt, but that's either slower, on top of invalidating the bond shuffling bond displacement, causing one more latency, or spawns an unwanted salt. I haven't looked at wand-specific intermediaries that forms the product by a wand dropping 2 parts off on different cycles. Something mind-blowing could be there too.
I looked at that. It's kind of bad. I recognized at least what he was meaning by those words and thought, oh yeah, I tried that and it didn't ever put things close enough to each other. The wand moves things too far for pivots to then rebuild the product.
I do like how the one that, the whirligig pivot is right over the Crytelli hex. You know what? That's good Crytelli. There, I said it. Alright. But we have 2 more solves. It is not a tie, in case anyone's wondering. In second place, at 250 cost, is the Weekly gang.
Remind me who's in this?
So it's this week, that's Faindeer and Rebix. Usually Gecko is in as well, but Gecko's a host this week.
Okay. Yeah, because I've seen Faindeer and Rebix talking in chat like they have something good, and this is that. Nice.
This is that. The notes.
Triarm, have we seen that?
We have not seen a Triarm. That's an aggressive wand.
That is.
Wait, that last one does something different.
Wildly. This is more like Gecko's, where it's the wand to save latency. They have the input coming out at 6R without a wand really involved in that 6R name. Huh?
Hold up, that's clever.
Oh, it's the next input that provides you the wand. Oh, that's the next output, I mean. Okay, so much of this is mind bending. Hold on.
This is doing my head in a bit. This is a really this is really involved. We're all just staring at it studiously. Don't mind us, chat.
So it creates an imperfect output because it needs there to be an output already in progress to get the wand correct. And then it just uses that imperfect output as a wand later.
Oh.
Like the first thing it does is put Vitae Mors on that debonder bonder up at the top, and then that is for the next product to use, and then every single product passes one of those off to the product after it.
Right, so...
Since the first one has 4 atoms that don't have any home, that's the wand.
Right. And that's the wand. And so here, the output is in position for the fast output at the end, but it wants to do another pivot. Puts it in a slightly worse position to output, but it's so that the next product can kind of become clumped together properly. And it will do that for all but the last one, where it doesn't need to put itself in the worst position. It can just leave itself in the better position because it doesn't need to worry about and the next one coming out. And 7 can just immediately output it, saving latency.
The depth of tech in a pivot cycles puzzle is impressively high.
Right. And this saves 10 costs.
I think it just hits the same cycle number differently enough that one of them is cheaper. You couldn't have convinced me that this or mine would have been cheaper unless I looked at how they scored eventually. It's not like this method has to be cheaper or more expensive.
No, it's close enough that you can't really comment on whether one's better than the other. I do like this length 2 pivot though. We have not seen that length 2 wand before.
Yeah, we've mostly seen just 2 salts, and then I don't remember who it was, but the scythe was still a 1 length because it was grabbed in the middle.
Oh yeah, Finder points out that they have a triarm and a hexarm, both of which are doing pivots on 2 different grabbers, which saves 10 gold each, and that's 2 placements.
Yeah, you can see Arm 7 helps with setting up the wand, giving it to the triarm, and once the triarm's got it, it handles the wand, and then Arm 7 just helps with outputting the first 5. Actually, I think it does the 6th one as well. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, Random Guess says that this can go lower with better output. It's only the 6th output that's been optimized here, but that's the one that matters. If you look at the first 5, you'll get the wrong impression about how efficient output is.
Nah, the output's very good. Don't be fooled. Yeah. I don't think the output is where this could potentially save, because you can see, like, that's a pretty quick output on that last one.
Given you just wanded it. Oh wait, the last output is forced to wait by 1 cycle because the others are slow? Ooh.
Oh, that is unfortunate. Oh, okay. Yeah, right here. The triarm has to wait for this to clear out before it can do that pivot. That is unfortunate. Very cool tech. If I said it before, I'll just do it again. The notes do read, did some real teamwork on this one. So this is a true team effort, and I think it shows. This is incredibly in-depth, awesome solve. Most weeks this would win, but not this one. Coming in at first place, at just 200 G, is Calliuresis.
I've been excited to see what Calliuresis has because of how much he said in chat about, like, interesting methods. So we have the Whirligig arm.
We have 2 ones.
Oh, the Whirligig is assembling
Hooray.
the output. This is what Ebenov was talking about, and I said just kind of sucks. It's trying to use the wand to drop off part of the output in one place and another part in another. This intermediate is so much better for that. What?
Right, so pay attention. I guess first point of order is first the wand is put into place here. And what this will do from here on out is have the Moors bonded to each other immediately off the bat, while the salt wand kind of is put into place here at this point, and a really tricksy rebonding happens, enabling this whirligig arm to continue to do the work, leaving arm 5 to output. Out 5's a multi-arm, so I'm trying to figure out its... yeah, alright, so its other use, much like in the last solve, is to help set up the wand, and then from there it will output.
It's so sad that, well, I mean, it's forced, but like the location of the center of the whirligig so that you can bond the input, or you can bond the 3 to the 3, causes it to take 2 more cycles of pivoting before it can do that last bond.
Right,
So
instead of just
even
one more
though
cycle, because it's over the bonder here.
it has a useless cycle right there,
There.
so it's still a 49. But this is using the, like, idea Ebenov brought up, and now I feel silly for trashing on the idea when I got it.
Over the course of the week, I was looking at the solves through the admin page to the back end of where they're submitted. And even though they weren't organized, I looked at this one and I was like, oh, this is really pretty. So I'm glad it ends up winning because it looks great.
Like, Halojasper calls it wanded lustrous syrup tech, and that's so true. It drops off the Mors Vitae in one location and picks it back up at another location, but the thing that's picking it up is itself wanded, so it's like meta wanding.
Yeah, you can see it just drops it off and then picks itself back up.
So Greamy said that they got below the obvious number, but then there's the giant pileup at 49 is actually the obvious number in 6 different ways. Or maybe 5 different ways. Ebenov and Team 42 had the same solve.
Yeah, I just that little bit of wanding lustrous syrup, that this bit in particular is just really slick. Like that I know, doing it with a wand, that is very, very hard to find. Calirius mentioned this is the first method he tried. Damn. Yeah, personally, I'm not too surprised. Not many people will... that you're the only person who found this, just because... to me, it reads as extremely not obvious at all. Like, yeah, to me, this reads as I have to really look for something like this. So it's kind of funny how it just kind of fell into this off the bat. That was the first metric.
Yeah, that's a great metric. I'm pleased with how this came out.
That was I don't know, I think it was a banger metric, that one. Those top 2 solves, or top 3, I'll grant you, were just awesome solves.
Especially given that this was the second metric that I was thinking about. I was like, okay, I have a cost puzzle. What else am I going to do? Like, I'm super happy about this.
That was kind of me with my puzzle last week, because height was an afterthought, but height ended up being fun. So I'm like, oh, good. Because that wasn't even the metric I was considering when I made the puzzle, so...
Yeah.
I guess there's no cost solve from Team 42 because that was our cheapest solve. trying 40G for this solve made me feel like I'm a novice at the game and I have more hours in it than anyone I know.
Sorry?
So just thinking like 40G for this puzzle made me feel like a novice at the game. And I have more hours in it than anyone, at least that I know. So this is also an incredible cost puzzle, but I did not put effort into it.
Yeah, min cost takes some real finding on this puzzle. We haven't, this is our first cost puzzle for the year. It's week 6. That's a little surprising. Okay. I think we're gonna start at 15th. Cost for this puzzle earns the title of dubious. Depends on who you ask. I suppose I shouldn't say more than that.
I mean, right after Rebix says dubious when, which Rebix will always say dubious when if it can be achieved.
Classic cost main things. Alright. Starting off at 15th place, we will be starting at 120G with Redstone Paradox. I get some vibes from this solution. Redstone Paradox writes, for the record, this was meant to be an instruction solve, but my actual instruction solve ended up being more expensive. Not a bad sum solve, honestly, given the constraints.
I will say that back forth of the hex arm looks pretty cost solving, even though it's a hex arm. The movement itself.
That is lustrous syrup right there, to a T. Yeah, this movement of pivoting to get rid of the bond while having it in the perfect place to rebond in the right position. Basically free wanding. Because you can think of the Vitae itself as the wand. As it debonds itself, it kind of puts the molecule where it needs to bond itself back on in the right spot. We'll see how often we need to return to that. Moving on, we drop down to 85 cost with 7p Storm, with the solve diminishing the cost.
Is this a piston on track, I wonder?
It is a piston on track.
It is a piston on track. Alright.
Awesome. So what we've seen so far is get the Morse bonded, move the Vitae, attach the salt.
Yeah, doing
both
salt
Redstone
last
Paradox.
is interesting.
Yeah. Let's see if that remains consistent through the rest of the solves.
I stared at this puzzle for hours and I never once thought about making the Vitae Moore's blocks. Yeah, cost has a... I don't know, cost has a... We talk about cost as the quote-unquote easy metric, but then you're faced with a problem you can't really solve, and you, like... I don't know, you feel a bit schooled. Cost is the least... It's the least forgiving of the metrics to screw up.
I'm in this call out and I don't like it.
Yeah, I think More than any other metric, a cost main is the one that will make you feel dumb. As opposed... Yeah. Alright. Alright, moving on. We finally have that soul from Filthy Casual that I wrongly showed at the very start of the stream. Down to 60G. Just a piston, no track. Sorry, piston, no track. I almost said a pivot instead of a piston. Jesus.
Have we rotted your brain with the pivot cycles metric? Oh yeah, Kevlar calls out that Pentapig made a guide after winning Hydroponic Solutions cost area on the process of making intermediates and deciding which intermediates are worth it.
I liked that write-up specifically for cost area though. Personally, but
yeah, I mean, all the decisions made within it were about area secondary, but at the same point, it's like the first time I guess some people can see somebody talk about the process of going from things that don't look like the output to things that are the output.
I do find it funny how Pentapig is current champion, but has not really dabbled much in lustrous syrup tech at all. This would have been an interesting GA, says Rebix. Yeah. See, I know I'm a GA enjoyer. I like the GA metric. But there's just a part of me, whenever I consider doing a GA metric, I'm like, oh, people are gonna hate this because it's, you know, not an obvious GA thing. But yeah, GA is a tricky one to please people on. Because if it's like a cost solve that needs track, then min primary is always going to be obvious, and because you need track, and so the track enables you to really cut down the area really easily. Whereas if it's a cost puzzle without track, suddenly GA is this absolute monster that like 2 people properly understand.
I think I was concerned about GA turning into like a waste ball sort of thing that we've seen in the past with this.
Right, like some of the
I
hydroponic
think that's
solves.
why I kept it with cycles.
I don't think a waste
What's
ball
that?
would have been the play for GA personally, but nevertheless, we are here with our cycle count. I know my rule of thumb is that GC is generally more convenient for people than GA, because GC solves require the least programming, and the area secondary on cost puzzles can be an absolute monster to think about. GA here probably would have played out a bit like Hydroponic GA did. Well, Hydroponic GA was a really good GA puzzle, so it was also a really, really hard GA puzzle, so... Depends on the difference between wasteful and wasteless cost. And I can easily imagine wasteful cost just having too many waste atoms, but I could be wrong. Alright. Time to move on. Not quite min cost just yet. We're still down, well, not for a bit actually. Whoops. My idiot brain thought 50 was min, sorry. We're down to 55. Actually, with cold calzone.
They called it Cost Hell with 3 track. That's...
Well, I think that... I know, I like cost puzzles when they're difficult. I don't know.
Yeah, I tend to, but only if I have the energy for it, and I didn't this week. Did I write any notes for this? I'm curious if Cost Hell was referring to an attempt at lower.
No notes for this solve.
Again, we see get the Morse bonded, fix the Vitae, and then add the sol.
Yeah, and the track and the 3 hexes of track kind of let you do that quite conveniently with just translates. you can see 2 translates in a row. Getting the Moors in the the Vitae ready to be rebonded on just with translates. Very helpful. With 3 tracks still half access debonder. Did we even read Kazian's notes for I? I didn't! Oh! Shit. Let me pull them up on the website real quick. God! What a blunder. Oh, that was so... Alright. So, let me just leave this playing in the background. I hope you people don't mind. Oh, wait, I did read those. Sorry. I did read them. Oh, I think I was just convinced I didn't read them because I didn't see the Alchemist Kazian in correspondence bit, because that wasn't actually in the notes for once. Oh, no, wait. I read the... Yeah, okay. Don't worry, people. Crisis averted. Alright, we move on to 11th place. We jump down to 50G with Mr. Puzzle. Solution title reads Tricky Enough As It Is. Alright,
I didn't have the humility to try 50G and realize it was hard too, so I just didn't get 40 and then stopped trying.
See, I do that too, but for me the word would be perfectionist. I would just be too much of a, oh, come on, you can get min-cost Zorflax and then struggle without actually just, like, calming myself down and just doing the 50G first. Which is a good tactic because it really gets you in the mind frame of solving the puzzle. And it kind of gives you a more vivid understanding of the steps required. And it gives you a base to, like a base to jump from when trying an actual min-cost solve.
Yeah, I appreciate that there's a lot of juggling here just to be able to get the second bond on the Moors when you can't touch the Moors. Also, Fiesta saying, yeah, get used to success. So you just try something that's less difficult than your ambitious goals first.
I like the use of the phrase trauma bonding, by the way. I'll read the notes for this one. Looked at 40G, promptly gave up. The limited access is tricky enough, even before applying the no grabbing Moors restriction. So I'll settle for this. Hope it's fast. Also, funny how this is a primary score of 50 in both metrics.
I bet this was written when they had 50 cycles.
Yeah, which is funny because we didn't actually get a 50 at all.
Were they on the group that had 49 though? I didn't think they had 49 either.
Good question. I don't actually remember seeing their name in the 49s.
Oh, they're saying that this has 50 non-pivot instructions. This solution that we're looking at has 50 non-pivot instructions.
Oh, I see. So it's a 50 no matter what you submit it for. It's a 50. Easy to forget that Cycles was not, in fact, the primary.
I was assuming that they had forgotten that it wasn't the primary and just started reading through that. Mr. Puzzle clarified.
When I was designing this puzzle, like, I liked the idea of the don't touch Moors that I had done before. And it seemed to interact with cost in a very interesting way, where usually, like, okay, you've got this big thing you're moving around, and you can touch everything, but it's the shape that's annoying. But having, like, atoms you can't touch, to me, seemed really interesting. So that was a big part of why I initially built this puzzle and was like, I'm going to focus on making a cost puzzle. Because of that challenge that Mr. Puzzle describes in his comments.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's... I don't know. I think if I were to go about this, I think I would have practiced by first doing a 40G that just grabs Moors anyway, and then just getting a feel for it, and then try to do that again without grabbing Moors. Because it is like an additional, very non-trivial wrinkle that you really need to... It's hard to approach something like that from scratch.
Yeah.
Alright. Moving on to 10th place. 50G, 345 cycles. We have Witch Push. Solution title, blech. This one does, in fact, have full access everything.
This is
Alright, again, get the Moors bonded.
Yeah.
Sorry, what's that, Biggie?
I was just saying it's the exact same method that you were saying too.
Yeah.
So, like, get the Vitae Moors into the brick, and then this was actually putting on the salt one at a time, which works perfectly.
Yeah, putting on the salt one at a time here is kind of just neat. Because you got the full access debonder, may as well get your full mileage out of it. Definitely a cleaner approach to 50G, I think.
I don't remember the theory on this. Was it like, if you had no track, then either the bonder or the debonder had to be at half access or no access or something?
Yeah, that's the access
like-
point counting. You required the 3 for inputs and outputs, so you only have 3 to spare for the 4 parts of bonders and debonders.
So, I guess a good way to just kind of put it is that you need both outputs, both inputs and output, a bonder and a debonder. That gives you 1 hex spare. So, that means you can have a full access debonder or a full access bonder. You can't have both. Alright, moving on. In 9th place, we have 50G, 303 cycles. Please, 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 lol.
Oh, that's nice.
Pretty slick method here.
It takes more time on the first placement, but then it does everything else faster than the last one.
So I like this tech, taking full advantage of the fact that track means that you don't have to have any of this stuff. You don't have to worry about the input or the output when you're doing all these rotates. You can just do the rotates onto your debonder, rebond it like that. Very nice. Oh yeah, double access output. Yeah, that's the way to go. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's another thing you can do. You can just have double access output instead of a full access bonder or debonder. That's obviously the ideal way to go about it.
Well, what about Critelli?
or you could just have none of those things and have an access Critelli. Access Critelli is one of my favorite flexes.
I think, oh gosh, there was one cost puzzle where I did access Critelli for fun.
Was it Arkwright promotion?
I think it was Arkwright. I'm pretty sure it was Arkwright.
We saw a few access Critellis in that one, I remember, despite how bloody hard that one was. Okay. Moving on from that.
No, I did not have access Critelli and Arkwright. I had double access input on Arkwright.
Oh, okay. Oh, you had double access input. Oh. I guess you could do that too, just for this puzzle. Double access input on one of the inputs.
It would improve suppression for sure. Although, if you had it on the Vitae Mors one, that'd be kind of sad. You couldn't even grab half of it.
Practically no puzzles are dubious when you make the whole community work on one for a week. And does it count as dubious if like 1 or 2 people get it? Or is it only dubious if no one at all gets it, but we still think it's possible?
I'm still counting warp fuel as dubious main cost, even though we had people do it.
So am I. I think if it's like a really hard cost puzzle and 1 or 2 people get min cost, that's dubious. That's dubious. I mean, I guess fragrant powders min cost still hasn't been disproved yet, so there's always that. If you have a very strict definition of dubious cost, so for all you dubious naysayers, go play fragrant powders. Dubious is a spectrum, not a binary. I agree.
Dubious secondary cost on cycle mins. Do that one.
Dubious secondary cost. Alright. Moving on. We have a host solve. It is in fact our first 40G. At 3,075 cycles, it is Gecko.
Early on in the stream, I mentioned that like costs had been really hard for me while playtesting, and you'll see it here.
3,000 cycles. You've exhausted 15 layouts of fragrant powders. Jesus. I've tried fragrant powders cost a couple times. I haven't even come close to exhausting 15 layouts, still without being any closer to finishing it.
The juggling here just looks wackadoo.
Well, most of it's so I could 1p it.
Alright, because it'll have extra
Um,
salt for waste. Or who knows
yeah,
how much
so-
extra waste. More than just salt, it looks like.
It doesn't end up with any like waste that builds and builds and builds.
Right, it just uses the extra stuff you pulled for the next product anyway.
Yeah, but it does it in a very convoluted way that makes all this ghost atom stuff need to happen. There's probably some not needed stuff there, but once I like figured out that it was possible at 40G, I was like, okay, this is good enough.
Steven keeps getting me hyped about her solve for cost, and I'm not even sure if that means she got 40G or something else.
So what's this?
Steven solve, like
Oh,
the Steven cost.
Steven submitted after the deadline. It is showcase. I'll show it in showcase.
Okay, sounds great.
No, I didn't actually notice it was submitted until after the deadline, until that conversation in Twitch chat happened, and I'm like, wait, shit, is it actually? Yeah, it is there. Technically, you submitted before the deadline
20
by
seconds.
20 seconds. 20 seconds to spare.
And we don't need to watch all 6 products of this, or we'll be here for a while.
Nah, that's okay, yeah. I'm happy to move on. Dropping down to 1,283 cycles, we have Team Still Not a Jasper. You see, this one has also been 6P'd. And no, sorry, no notes this week from Team Still Not a Jasper. Alright, we got the fish intermediary. Always like to see the fish. Alright, so it's just focused on getting the Vitae and the Moors and the salts all bonded together. How it repositions the Moors without grabbing it, we will soon see. Alright, so here it's kind of bonded the salt with the vitae in a way that has it primed to be bonded properly with the Moors, which it will do. And from there, it's just getting that last vitae atom out of the middle, which it will do by debonding the salt first, so that you can get that vitae out, or not. Oh, okay, it's just getting the... Oh, okay, yeah, it's bonding the vitae to the Moors first as well, right, which it has to do without grabbing the Moors. And now we can dig that vitae out of the middle. And that's an output.
This is really nice. I wish I had found something like this when playtesting.
It's always a bit scary when you're trying to like do a hard puzzle, because the playtesting is like important and also the hardest part, and you always miss something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the whole like, I remember when we were during Bist's tournament, when the method thing first started, that method was completely missed in playtesting. But yeah, no, I do remember Kevalan posted that Pentapig write-up in, if you scroll up in the Twitch chat, it will be there. It is a very useful album if you're trying to do a bit of a deep dive into cost tech and what cost mains actually, like, their thought process. Yeah, there it is. Thank you, Gecko. Yeah, to actually dive into, like, the thought process of a cost main and how they think of intermediaries. Spoiler alert, it's a lot of backwards first thinking, working backwards from the end and how you get there. Which I think is very useful, especially for like the harder cost puzzles. I think backwards first becomes more and more powerful. Still very hard though. Just because the write-up is helpful doesn't make cost less hard. You really need experience, that kind of thing. Alright. On to 7th place. We dropped down about 100 cycles to 1169 cycles. Team Saijondras. Did I... Oh, cool. Thank you. Thank you, Opus Magnum.
You're welcome, Zorflax.
The canon Opus Magnum voice.
It's me, Opus Magnum.
I feel like...
You want to buy some marbles?
Opus Magnum sounds like Mickey Mouse. I think Opus Magnum knows me very well with all the hours I have spent with it. Okay, so starting off this one, we get a lightning bolt. I think the idea here is that it's formed part of the output here, the salt Moors. And from here, it will bond the other Moors through the vitae that is given as bonded in the input. So now we have this like lubricating solvent shape that we just need to fix, which isn't
one atom wrong, but how do you put that atom on the debonder safely?
Yeah, not easy to get off, because if you just throw that onto the debonder right now, you just lose access to the whole ring. So we need a wand. Now we can debond it because it's still bonded to that wand. So now we're just
when
gonna...
the syrup is lustrous.
When the syrup is lustrous. Alright, so now we have the product properly. We can debond the first salt. Rearranging it, interestingly. And now we can debond the second salt. So now we have our salt pair again. And we can just output that. And return to starting position.
All of the 40Gs so far use very different techniques.
Yeah, no standout technique just yet. At all. Or at least we haven't seen the same, like, intermediary shape at all.
Yeah.
I like the way this one goes about it. Very kind of logical sequence. It is a bit of a shame in terms of the cycle count. Just how quickly this lubricating solvent shape comes together. And just getting that one vitae back in the right place costs so many cycles. See, we're on cycle 44 and we already have the lubricating solvent shape. Or brazen cathode shape if you're Weeklies brained. But we're not going to get the vitae in its right place until cycle, what? 143. So that's 199 to be exact. That's 100 cycles between getting the lubricating solvent shape and getting the vitae in the right place, while the lubricating solvent shape itself came together in just 44. So that is a bit unfortunate. And then it takes a few more cycles to get this the salt pair debonded, because that's not exactly trivial. That doesn't happen for another 40 cycles. Because at this point we do have to keep track of the cycles counts and at what stage things happen or don't happen. I do wonder if we will see a return of the lubricating solvent method or tactic, or whether other ones kind of solve this last vitae problem in a different...
You can use the word method. It's literally lubricating solvents method.
You raise a good point. Okay. Moving on to 6th place. We drop down a couple hundred cycles to 923 with Bambi. Okay, full access bonder. No access debonder. Double access, what is that? The salt one. How's that for a layout?
Yeah, double access input makes sense for suppression's sake, but it's not convenient to have so few flips.
Yeah, it definitely makes input suppression much less of a headache, but... Okay, so similar problem, actually. We're on cycle 38. We've already got half... Oh, sorry, half. Where'd that word come from? We already have almost all of the Teuling's Moors. We just need that last, this time it's a Moors atom. But...
We need to break the bond between Vitae and Moors and spin the other piece around.
Oh, right, no, of course, yeah, my bad. Sorry, it's not quite that simple.
I think the problem with this one, because when you see the broken bond, it's going to be very easy to bond the Vitae to the salt. It's going to be terribly hard to bond the Moors to the Moors.
Yeah, so this could have almost...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. This could have almost gone for a... See, in this position, it is the lubricating solvents idea again, but Bambi seemingly deliberately makes the choice to bond that salt to the Moors instead. So that will have to be fixed later. And it is fixed by splitting into 2 halves. But
I'm just not seeing how you bond the Moors together in this layout because the bonder's full access and the thing you need to put on it is Moors.
yeah, so interesting conundrum. We have the shape, we just need the Moors bonded, and you can't grab the Moors. So I do think, yeah, this wanding method will suffice. I think.
This is like the shape that Team Psydronjaz made with the ring plus the 2 salt
handle.
And here it does debond without losing access to the Teuling's Moors.
Just for pointing out that this is the same thing as their fish solve did. I just missed that was happening because the fish was confusing. Yeah, having a full access bonder and then needing to bond 2 Moors together without touching them. That's the problem that I got stumped on that I didn't try to solve. Like, I could get basically to the spot where Bambi has where there isn't a bond between Moors, then I was like, yeah, this just, I don't know how I can do that. I did not think very hard. I probably thought hard enough, but I'm just not as in tune with this sort of idea.
I do feel like the amount of effort I'm willing to put into a puzzle does, like, very strongly correlate with how well I will do on a puzzle. So if I'm, like, really feeling a puzzle, I'm excited by it, and, like, you know, I'm in the mood to do cost now, or whatever, then I will do well on that puzzle. But if it's a puzzle that I'm just not feeling, I will probably do trash. So I think that might have something to do with it.
How much effort did you put into the AI puzzles, Orflex?
You mean mine?
Sorry. No, I mean the one that was in the tournament where we
well, actually, good point. But I spent minimal time on the layout itself, which is probably a big. That's a boo-boo on my part. I could have saved a lot of places by coming up with a better layout, but I just stuck to the bad layout and programmed that a lot. I guess that's an exception to that rule.
I didn't mean to go for the low blow, but it came to mind.
That's okay. Also, my excitement for that puzzle was low, so... And that... Sorry. Can't cut you off there.
So far what we've seen is kind of what I expected, which is, like, not being able to touch the Moors makes a couple of things really, really difficult, and so you gotta work around it. We'll see if... it continues to show that way, or if someone comes up with something that's really, really elegant.
Okay, moving on. We drop down exactly 200 cycles this time to 723 with Calyuresis.
That's significantly faster. I would have thought maybe that number doesn't show up for a bit.
Okay, so what method, what tactic, what play are we going for? So immediately we get the Moors and the Vitae bonded together. So no more Moors manipulation off the bat. But we just have to get the salt on, and that is non-trivial because you have this oh no, wait, sorry, the Vitae needs to be fixed. My bad. Wow. Why is that?
It's on 6 together such that it can be turned into 3+3, but I think getting it actually onto the bonder as 3+3 isn't possible because you'd have to grab a Moors, so something else has to happen.
Right, so here you can see the 2 halves are there, but now you can't just debond the 2 halves easily because then you straight up completely lose access. So care is taken to bond it the other way. So now it can debond kind of the other way around, and now it has access to that Vitae atom. So now it puts it into place, and
Oh, that's cool.
a lot less shuffling than the other solves we've seen so far with this idea. I like this.
That makes sense. That's really slick.
That is a clever solution to that problem.
I don't think I've ever seen that sort of debond. Like radial debonder, 2 elbows. Like I simply would not think of that. So well done to Caloresis.
I wonder if that was come up with forwards first or backwards first. That does seem a bit backwards first-ish.
Yeah, Kelly confirms definitely backwards.
Yeah, yeah. Elbows are...
Zorflex, what AI puzzle were you talking about?
The one from Bist's tournament. No,
Soothing
the...
Salve, the Tiger Balm one?
Yeah, Soothing Salve, that's it. No, the AI puzzle that we did for... Like, I had an AI puzzle once, and it didn't have waste. So you didn't need conditional handling of waste. And it was much less of a pain in the ass than Soothing Salve.
I see we're continuing with the AI hate after I come back.
Oh, hey!
Oh, no.
Just in time for the AI hate. We hadn't talked about anything like that all stream, but you've come back just as we talk about it. Well...
Damn. Take a bit of a nap. I'm back.
Alright, we missed instructions. That one was closed out. The instruction solves at the top are really cool. Costa's shown a very wide variety of techniques. The first min cost was geckos, which was like 9th, nominally 10th. No, nominally 9th, sorry.
Yeah, I checked the solutions beforehand, before the stream started.
Oh, right, yeah. Alright. Let's crack open 4th place. We dropped down to 695 with Rolamni.
Compared to the absolutely giant metric gaps in the past, in the last metric, these seem to be jumping at like a little bit of a more consistent pace.
Yeah, if you're just looking at second... Yeah, well, the other one would also had the same problem. But yeah, a lot more consistent drops here. Rolamni writes in the notes, at least min cost, but no time to dive into optimization. Rolamni, I think, spent like an hour on this one.
Just an hour
This
now?
looks so easy. Of course, Rolando can figure out something like this. Jeez.
Of course there's an easy method. Why wouldn't there be?
Okay, so... important diamond. So the diamond is to have both the idea is to have both the Vitae and the Mors bonded to the respective salt atoms, which kind of gives you access to that. You have that, the bonder is very strategically placed to make that convenient. And from there you have the 3 parts, and you can just bond the 3 parts together. And at no point do you have to touch Mors, because the Mors is like one of the 2 atoms in all of the monomers.
I think I saw this solve and I was like, oh, yeah, I missed something when I was playtesting. Because I thought this puzzle, I felt this puzzle was very hard, but when I look at this, I'm like, oh, this seems very simple and elegant.
Of all the solves
So there's probably
far,
more depth.
Yeah, of all the solves so far, they make me feel like my 15 minutes were wasted. Like, this is the one that has me feeling like I got owned. I got owned.
It does make me want to make another puzzle with the same restriction that actually gets a little bit more into really, really intense cost.
Yeah, I do think I wouldn't describe it as making min cost easy, more as like I guess for Alarmni it was because it's Rolamni, but I don't know, it forces cleverness is a way to put it. That doesn't necessarily mean it was difficult, but like you still can't just wade into this puzzle and throw something hacked together without proper thought going into it. That I don't know. I do think that no access bonder is very cleverly utilized. Rami really could have had a crack at the win here if he actually put time into optimizing.
Does this method carry? Like, it does seem like there's a lot of clunky diamond shuffling, but I'm not sure how much can be saved.
I don't actually know. That being said, we do take our second biggest drop, like, of the secondaries, full stop. We dropped down to, like, 418 at third place.
Yo.
Whoa.
That is, like, that's closer to 300 cycle drop than 200. So, I think Rolamni hit the right point of the cutoff.
Romney on that effort efficiency Pareto.
Effort has been effort has been utilized most efficiently. We have Fiesta Land. All right, reading the notes.
Full access output, Jesus.
Double access output, full access bonder as well. No access debonder.
No access debonder.
The notes read, we felt from the beginning that making the Moore's bond first would greatly simplify everything else. Our big brainwave, yet, was finding out how to do that with a full access bonder. After that, the rest of the solve mostly just fell into place. Prior to this, we'd still been looking at two halves construction, but with scaffolding and half access glyphs that were finicky to manage. We also wanted a flex by having full access Critelli, but that made the solve 5 cycles slower.
Oh yeah, if you pivot over the output so that you can have an access point on Critelli, it wouldn't have changed placement.
Okay, so this is just... We've seen this question mark intermediary before, but this makes it look so goddamn easy. Because the idea of the question mark is that you do have the two halves, and this solve kind of knows that and has strategically placed the debonder to make that as easy a problem manage as possible. See right here, it's just get everything in the right place. Really elegant.
It would be right in the spot you can hold it.
Really
and
elegant
then
solution.
Beyond, you only have assault to hold, so it's easy. This is easy. How'd the game get easy when it was hard?
I'm shocked that there's two solves better than this.
People are good at the game. What do you know?
But yeah, no, just looking at this mechanically, you think it doesn't get much lower than this, does it?
Does it? Does it?
In second place, the cycle drops get a little more manageable now. We drop down to 389 with Ebenov.
Yes, still 100. Still like sub 400.
So similar idea, except you could have gone with the access Critelli.
Holy crap.
That is a far
Even
away
if the arm
debonder.
was a piston. Even if the arm was a piston, it wouldn't be able to touch the debonder.
Ah. Okay, so
Perfect sense in context, but that's hilarious.
I'd say not too dissimilar to... So the intermediary looks different to Fiesta Lands, but it's actually a very similar idea of this two halves. So you see these two are definitely bonded in the same way. That VT needs to be rearranged, but it gets bonded to the salt. It gets bonded not as a question mark, but as just a block. And the block is just debonded. And from there it's a matter of shuffling, and then it solves.
Well spotted.
It's that easy.
It's that easy. Reading the notes, probably the same idea Fiesta found is written in the notes.
Amazing.
Bonder in...
Great job on your prediction.
What a prediction. Wow. Bonder in really accessible position so Moors can bond into a hair product form first. And debonder's
Lovely, very
position
accessible.
and debonder's position doesn't matter because it's only used once. That was a 10 out of 10 call out.
I'm surprised how surprised Revix was at this. So what is Revix holding?
So, yeah, people may have guessed our resident cost main, since Pentapig doesn't really do weeklies, won this cost puzzle to not many, if anyone's surprise. The cycle count drops down to 327. Congratulations, the weekly gain.
Goodness, that's a huge range from the 3,000 we started with, at 327.
So still full access bonder, no access debonder. Wait, what? Hello.
Oh, you have the old version of the Moors mod.
Oh, is this a known? Oh, this is the known bug that got patched. Oh,
Yeah,
let me.
skill issue, as Steven calls out.
Skill issue.
Remember to update your mods or flag.
Nah. Bar humbug. Alright, question mark. It is the question mark method again, but...
Oh my gosh, that setup for it is beautiful. It's like, you don't need to grab it, you just bond onto it.
So, yeah, it's... How's this for a cycles specific find? So, it positions it carefully so that we get the lightning bolt, which will turn into the question mark. But it just rotates a couple times to put it perfectly on the bonder, and arm 1 just needs to pivot. And you have your question mark, and it's just pivot, rotate, and you already have it debonded, and arm 1 can just pivot, and it's already in the right position. And from there, and you don't even need to pivot the other one very much. You just grab the you grab the Vitae, pivot it a couple times, and then from there, get the final bond on, and bang, there's your output.
Boom.
It's that easy. Yeah, and Fiesta's calling out what this does is saving regrabs, which are very important when it comes to cycles optimization in cost primaries. Yeah, half-access bonder, not the way to go.
That sounds like it's what Steven used in the showcase, so they made it min cost.
So, at least for cycles, but maybe also generally, a half-access bonder isn't really the play, I think, because if it's... So there are two types, let me just... Yeah, there are two types of half-access debonder. You either have this one, which is at, like, an elbow half-access, or you have the straight half-access. Now, having a look at the ring that we need to construct... Well, that's not really going to work on this. This method isn't really going to do it because, well, that'll block. And this, you only have access to one of the hexes. So, unless you can come up with some clever lustrous cirrus method, not happening. And even so, maybe that method is better used with full access. And then you have the straight one, which is even more of a pain in the ass. Because if you're trying to get, like, I don't know, yeah, it just... This is the same position as if you would have full access. So if you're trying to get two halves together, you can just put like one half here, the other half here. Whereas like this, you can't do the half. The half method is completely inaccessible. You can put something like you're trying to bond something to like how do you get the other molecule in place to be bonded is a question that this bonder position can't really easily answer because that's not access. The only thing you really can do is that, and you're really gonna have to do 5 in 1. That's a lot of bonding and debonding to get yourself into a 5 in 1 position. So for that reason, full access wins.
And what I think is true of this particular output shape, I mean, I see people saying in the chat, hello Jasper, half access bonder doesn't play nice with this output in particular. Cagliari says half access is bad for 120 degree bonds. But what I'm also noticing is that no access debonder, like it's never gonna unbond something that it shouldn't because of how the ring will just like slide over
So I
a
think
whole bunch of positions of no access debonder.
half access, sorry, no access debonder works particularly good when you're doing the half-half method. We kind of saw people try to do the half-half method, but they had like access to the debonder, and that made it so much worse. Which is funny because very cost-brained idea to come up with no access debonder at all and see that as the more convenient way to do it, but it is. Because it grants you this half-half method, which is kind of easy to construct/deconstruct, and it's out of the way, so you're never accidentally debonding anything.
A lot of recent cost puzzles have been like access points are a lie.
Yeah, when you want to have it
Means
be
access
conventionally
point.
difficult, if it's supposed to be conventionally difficult, the goal is then to find a better thing than convention to solve it with, and that's when you reduce access even further.
Yeah, but like lots of puzzles, they're like optimal is don't use the access points. For stuff like what's its name?
Rust removal
Hydroponic
had a
solution.
lot of no access shenanigans.
Yeah, rust removal too.
Steven saying, so very obviously I'm not cost-brained. But I think Kelly Reese has said exactly what I was thinking, like, beforehand anyway. Just 120 degree bonds just don't agree with half access. Because, like, shapes that are like this might work a lot better with half access. But when it's purely just these elbow bends, kind of the geometry does not play nicely with a half access bonder, or
Shoutouts to when Panic built a half-access bonder solve for the
potent potables.
potent potables and had the 120 degree bond struggle.
RIP.
Still remember when I made a whole cost solution and just didn't submit it, and then just didn't do anything Opus Magnum related for like 2 years. No, year and a
See,
bit.
I'm doing a little bit of division. I was at 40 gold during my playtest with 3,075 cycles. So how many outputs could this solution make in that same time? So 3,075 divided by 327.
50 something?
Times 6. It can make 56 outputs.
Numbers.
56. There's over 9 times faster.
Yeah.
Very well earned. Alright, that's it for this puzzle's metrics. I think so. Point of order.
It's hot time.
It's puzzle reveal time. Then it is showcase time.
Puzzle reveal first. Okay, let me get that ready.
Then it is showcase time. Then it is spicy sauce bet time.
Alright.
I'm so curious about spicy sauce.
Well,
I got
do
the
people
puzzle
want me to do spicy sauce before or after showcase? So
I want to do speed solving during the showcase. So
okay,
I
all right.
have
For this,
a little time before spicy.
all right. For the sake of the speed solvers, I'll do showcase and then hot sauce bet at the end. I've had to keep really quiet on the hot sauce bet this week. It has been kind of like I've been wanting to say stuff.
I have no idea how it went, so I'm gonna be surprised.
Okay, you're in
The
for it.
world dropped 14 points from Evanov.
16.
16.
No, I just didn't know any of the numbers. I don't have any of the numbers off the top of my head, so I don't know what that means.
Oh, so Ebanov took first place with a 278. I got zeroth place. You could look at my score if you want, because you're a weekly host, but I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell anyone what my
I'll
score
wait
was.
for the reveal.
Yeah, I didn't show my puzzle. I didn't show myself or tell anyone what I scored. All that they knew is that it beats Ebanov's 278. And from there, they as a community beat Ebenov's first place solve by 16 points.
Okay, got it. Still don't know if you're eating hot sauce or not, but looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it. That'll be fun reveal. Yeah, I've had to keep really quiet. I didn't want people to metagame, be like, oh, is he implying he's getting beaten or not? I didn't want any of that, so I'm like, just had to keep really quiet. Let me find next week's puzzle. Let me get around to that.
Yeah, it's on the next card spin.
There it is.
Alright, is it ready?
No, I gotta download the puzzle first.
Oh yeah, I have to download a solution too. Wink wink.
I do.
Oh,
yes.
I'm gonna have another step needed before I can do speed solving. Is this one of those
If you're fast
overlap
enough, you don't have to.
simplified puzzles?
You'll see. I hope it works. I made a few last minute changes.
Yeah, there was a last minute change to this puzzle.
Non-cosmetic.
Last minute
Grab.
changes.
Alright, that's the puzzle. Let me just do the solution thingy. Okay, hopefully this will work. Alright, I'll count you down, Best.
Alright.
3, 2, 1, go. So the puzzle
Oh, wait.
is a partial overlap, and there it is.
Yeah, it
Okay,
is.
there we go. Partial
that's
overlap. There's your overlap. You're not allowed to overlap anything of your own, but you get an overlapped input. So think Rivari's Rage for those of you who were around for 2021. But yeah,
This is more like a miraculous auto sort though, because there's bonders under that thing.
yeah. As you see, there are bonders. But yeah, this configuration where, where Regent is on top, followed by the products, followed by the bonders. You're not allowed to change that.
You can change the order though.
Yeah. Oh, you can
if
change
that
the order?
matters. Yeah, you can change the top-down order if
Okay.
that matters.
Okay, you're allowed to change the order. Sourced flax. I like that. Alright, the metrics for this week are area with cost secondary and cycles with cost secondary.
Where you with this? Alright. I'll probably enjoy it.
Have fun. You'll find out why the puzzle's name is why it is if you play it.
Sticky sauce. So last
Sticky
week,
sauce.
so a couple weeks ago we had spicy sauce. This week it's sticky sauce. I noticed this. You're a fan of cost secondary and area puzzles. I for one don't blame you. I think it's cool whenever you can do it. But yeah.
Yeah, I want to see if it makes a difference. If it doesn't make a difference, it doesn't matter.
I thought the cost secondary on Film Crystal was a really cool idea.
Yeah, because that's one of the few puzzles I'm sure that it would matter. I'm sure people are speed solving already.
Frantically speed solving. Alright.
Frantically speed solving.
Actually, while people are frantically speed solving, let me get the
Oh, username void is done.
username Void coming out with the W. Very nice.
.d, I think.
Impressive.
Have you submitted it?
I messed something up.
I don't think username void submitted yet.
Oh. That would have been extremely quick.
Got some error when submitting? Send the error, please. And the solve. Nope, I don't see anything here. If you got the does not match the restrictions error, that means you might have some overlap somewhere. Yeah. Let me check real quick.
Alright, let me just update so that we actually do get Steven's showcases into the showcase. So I'm gonna have to do that real quick.
Yeah, do you have any extra or any less overlap in your solution using a void?
It should just be.
Send your solution to me, please. Thanks. I need to troubleshoot this.
One sec.
Alright, I guess people are curious, so I'm happy to start with Steven's showcase.
Alright.
Let's go.
My solution was submitted, so I just sent in the speed solve, but I was stuck on something.
Well, Steven's showcase is the first one that pops up anyway, so that works for me.
Biggies went in, so your solution probably had a problem using a void.
It should have just been multi-bonder, 3 single bonders, and the output overlapped. But I can double
And the
check
input.
it. Oh, the input's both. Oh, I'm done. Alright, that's it.
Did you not put the input on it? I see.
Okay, so Steven, in an interesting twist, has gone full access debonder, half access bonder.
I see.
Steven submitted this with 20 seconds to spare.
Without running it to completion first, because 2,000 cycles is slow.
It didn't even. She didn't even have time to run it to completion. It was that tight.
Stephen, why do you do this to yourself?
I know. I think it's pretty clever.
Steven, when Steven gets a primary and that primary is difficult, it's a funny moment.
Too bad this doesn't beat any of the other. Does it beat Gecko?
Yeah, it actually does beat Gecko.
Yeah, I was at 3,000.
Yeah, this beats Gecko by about 1,000 cycles.
Oh boy.
Yeah, full access debonder. It means you have to work with a half access bonder, which is a pain. But at least your debonding is easy. And yeah, it needs to 1 because half access bonder. Scuffed cost soul time, woo. Oh yeah, fish shape. We did get the fish shape briefly.
Yo, fish.
Yo, fish.
Hi, Stephen. You here to talk about yourself?
Oh god, hold on, I can fucking hear myself twice. So yeah, I kind of just decided on a layout, and then rolled with it. That's pretty much just it. There was no thought that went into that layout, I just rolled with it, and then at every step made a copy. And that's why there's so many copies. I in fact did not work backwards. I worked forwards and branches.
It's the Opus. It's the Opus Magnum
Ouch.
It's the Opus Magnum equivalent of save scumming.
Oh, Guardian.
Yeah, we got a lot of intermediaries. We got the fish. We got a lightning bolt. We got the hook. I think we get the. Do we get the question mark at one point? We might not.
We get the table.
No question mark.
We even got some new intermediaries that weren't even in the scoring solves.
I do think this
I feel
final
like-
bit is satisfying though, but you know.
I feel like 4-axis debonder is almost a hindrance.
It does. The only thing the thing it has going for it is that you can work with single atoms, but that's about it. Intermediary glossary when.
In one solve, most importantly.
Oh, that sounds like a cursed idea for a shit post. A cost solve where you just make like a ridiculous amount of intermediaries before actually making the right shape. And then
Damn, you don't have a new secondary for a cost solve?
maximize like 6 atom intermediaries or something.
Oh boy. That should just be a puzzle. Go through as many iterations of the 6 atoms as possible.
You need like a library of which intermediaries turn into which ones with just like one bonding step or change.
Do you count mirror images as the same or different?
Don't forget to make
Depends on
sure to
chirality.
Yeah, so I also had to mirror this solve, and this is part of why I didn't have the time to verify it.
Why'd you have
Because
to
I was in
mirror it?
Because I had a chirality skill issue.
Skill issue.
Skill issue.
Building the Moors on the Vitae and the Vitae on the Moors.
And unfortunately, with this puzzle, you can't just flip around the Vitae and Moore's input, because that would break the one law.
Don't touch
I would have
Moors.
had at least an extra minute if it weren't for the fact that I failed to fucking put, click drag the solve into the right fucking boxes.
You were playing with fire in a puzzle that doesn't have fire or burn.
Amazing.
Alright. Alright, I think it's time to move on. Having a look at some of the other showcases, we'll start with Overlap Area by Mr. Puzzle.
Oh boy.
I wonder if someone submitted a solve that only touches the Mars and the salt.
Only touches the Moors in the
Would that even be yeah, that would be allowed, wouldn't it?
In Showcase,
Since
you were
Showcase-
allowed to touch Moors.
Yeah.
So that's actually just as well. I have the Moors mod turned off at the moment, just in case the solve does
Yeah,
that.
but it doesn't go with the spirit of the puzzle.
No. Yeah, I don't.
It's like how
We definitely didn't get many. I don't actually remember seeing one, so we might not actually get any. Because you're right, it's just like it's a different puzzle if you can grab the Moors.
yeah, it's like how Rivari's
Yeah.
Rage puzzle showcases, still have the glyph.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's just not Rivari's Rage without that glyph.
Instead, it is Turing's Hexstabilized Moors.
Destabilized Moors. Alright, we have a few more over... Oh no, we'll get to those. We have another overlap area solved by a random guest, so... This one's also 7 area. No, wait, the other one's 8 area. This is smaller.
Oh. Oh.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
This is much quicker.
Well then.
Well, that works.
So yeah, basic idea,
Yeah.
just widen the gap until a new input fits between the Moors and the Vitae and just output.
Yeah, then I'm also surprised the wheelchair atom isn't a part of the base game.
Fuck, we need to do a weekly puzzle with that wheelchair atom. That would be so sick.
You need to just make a mod that's just entirely based around the wheelchair atom and has lore and shit.
The lore page.
Uh-huh.
The lore page is just like a word-for-word recounting of Mad Master's dream.
Uh-huh.
It was a really weird, vivid ass.
Split into several puzzles.
It does say in the notes that this is a surprisingly non-trivial solution, resulting for the fact that the unbonder can't be entirely overlapped by the output. So that was the main wrinkle here. Otherwise, yeah, overlap area. We have overlap instructions, also by random guest. I see random guest is a plus instruction kind of person.
Based.
Misguided.
I guess the classic 2i.
2i, but it's even just like a triangle track is very, very nice 2i.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lots of 2Is have a little starting track. This manages to avoid that.
Random guest notes 6p version. I don't know how you 6p this. Instruction tape is just grab minus and then plus times 19. So there's like an initialization minus and then you do pluses. Has better cost and area than the OC I submitted, but has worse rate. Given its similarity to this solve, I elected not to submit it. Going down the overlap showcases, we have OG.
The OG solve.
The OG solve.
Now you get to have full access everything.
I see.
Oh, it does.
Brilliant.
Now, you know what it should have done? It should have had 4-axis output. As in 4-axis.
As in all
6 axes.
inside the ring.
Yeah, imagine delivering the output though.
That would have been awesome. All right, yeah, delivering the output
isn't
gets
even like
It's
that
probably
much
not possible,
faster.
but it's funny.
I can't get over the fact that this isn't even like that much faster than first place.
right. Also, yeah, that bonder unbonder is the only actual piece of overlap. Otherwise, this is a normal solve. You just get like a broken ass bonder debonder combo. Okay. Final overlap submission from random guest is OC. Please do not steal. Lexicographical
OC donut
cycles.
steal.
OC do not seal.
I see.
Ah, neat.
I could have made an
That's...
I could have made an OIC joke with the OI solve, but I missed my cue, so I'll suffer in silence, I guess.
This
Do
is
you
a
have the
good
slowdown mod?
I do. Yes, I can slow this down.
What's that, Biggie?
This is a good feeling solve.
Yeah.
OR
That's
gets
slick.
OR has a lower rate than this, right?
Yeah, you'd be able to get 2R. There's no way to get lower than 2R. But
Right.
2R should be possible.
Yeah. Okay.
But you wouldn't have min latency with 2R, and so this is like C. This is certainly like C, actually.
All right. There's actually, yeah, I do like when we do like a cycles metric because the slowdown function just becomes so good to show all these.
Yeah. So we
Okay.
got a psychometric coming up.
We do have cycles next week. You will probably be seeing me use it a lot next week. All right.
And then speeding up when it comes to area. Actually, this area puzzle probably doesn't need that much speeding up.
Maybe not. Yeah, we'll see. All right. So next up, we have a few from Gecko, who was playtesting metrics to find the right one. So this one is a cycle solve. Oh, let me just. Calling so Gecko in the title calls out that this is min +1. Is it? I think it is min +1 because of the re-grab.
I mean, you can see the final Vitae Morse sits there without everything in position yet for one cycle, and then it yoinks its way out. So
Yeah.
there's just one
This
extra
looks
weight.
so much like life sensing potion.
I tried some geometry stuff to get one cycle lower, but it's probably possible, but I'm not cycles enough to make it happen.
I can try to throw something together right now.
Is this a cycles joke that I'm too sunbrained to understand? Yeah, I think the lack of having to deal with the animismus glyph makes this overall a different feeling puzzle, and b a simpler puzzle than life sensing potion. It's just the no grabbing Moors rule is kind of what gives it its spice.
Yeah.
Okay, another metric the Gecko play tested was TI. This one has a score of 10.
Wow. Nice.
Do like that arm one. Got that double arm tech always coming in handy because it gives you a once every 3.
Does work.
You know what Arm 2 does is exactly what Calioresis' solve does with the Lester Syrup one.
That is absolutely what Calioresis did in his winning solve.
Just without the wand.
Yeah, it's just no wand. Pretty clever. Yeah, pretty clever. All things up. Taking advantage of the double arm tech because it grabs it once every 3 loops, and you need 2 of them. So you get the whole thing bonded together once every 6, which lets you just use single atoms. So you bond once every 6 loops. And some clever rebonding means you don't have to worry about like a glyph minefield. Final metric that Gecko playtested was RG.
Nice. Love the pivot. Essentially the pivot version of Lustrous Syrup Tech.
That's a pretty nice pivot. Actually, the double purpose pivot.
Pivot of the week.
Pivot of the
Actually,
week.
there's so many pivots in the other in the actual metric.
Then
we're considering this one.
My pick for pivot of the week was the whirligig pivoting that a lot of the best solves did. That was that ones that just constantly rotate pivots.
Yeah.
I just picked that as like a collective pivot of the week just because it looks so cool. I can't ignore it.
This one also looks cool.
This one is actually, it's like, as far as a single pivot instruction goes, this is a really clever one.
Tried lots of different things, but I came to the weeklies. I submitted a puzzle to the weeklies gang, and they said, we think this is too easy. And so a lot of the metrics I tried for this ended up being too easy.
Alright,
If I submit a showcase at min cycles, will that be cool to show on stream?
What is already done?
Download it again.
Yeah, I did it.
Alright. I'm
It's
impressed.
probably easier if you send in chat, I think.
If you literally just like DM me the solution
DM me is faster.
Yeah, just DM me the solution file. Before I download that though, we'll have a look at the speed solves. So coming in 3rd place was username void.
Solution 1.
Oh yeah, these are all new solution 1. The optimal speed solve title. Alright, so this just solves the rebonding problem with track, because rotation's are less convenient to just think about than just a translate. And a pivot for that matter. But yeah, the final rotate doesn't really... That's easy to figure out because it's just the one. And it's just clump the salt on and deep output. In second place, actually dethroned this week, was Biggie.
Yeah.
Rare to see Biggie not win a speed solve contest, actually. This is a cool idea, actually, leaving that Moors on that bonder there and having arm 2 pivot.
You know, one thing that cost me time here is that I got the chirality wrong. I had the same skill issue Steven did, and so I had to go and mirror everything by hand.
Oh no, you had to mirror it by hand because it was speed solving.
Oh no.
Oh.
Yeah,
There's not very much
nonsense.
here, though, so it was pretty easy to do, but it still was probably like 45 seconds of sadness.
Fucking up the chirality is like... Yeah, that's like game over if you're speed solving. It's so hard to account for that, though. Yeah, Caliuresis only beat you by like 1 minute, so that 45 seconds might have mattered. Anyway, for this final solve, it wasn't submitted as a showcase, so let me just boot up one of the passes real quick. And find it. Here it is. The winning... See, Caliuresis coming out strong with the speed solving. I had no idea Caliuresis was also good at speed solving. On top of all the other things.
It's hard to imagine a thing and Caliuresis not being good at it if that thing is an Opus Magnum.
Caliuresis is good at game. Who knew?
Who knew?
It's almost as if there was a, a tournament that told us that.
That Caliuresis damn near won. Alright, so very simple. Just bond the Moors together. Yeah, this one, yeah. So none of these solves have been grabbing Moors. That was a bit of a wrinkle when you're speed solving, because you just grab Adam, but you can't just grab Adam here. You need to get around that. So the Vitae is bonded, bonds the Moors together, and then bonds each other together. Clutch pivot there. Arm 3, you could just wait to cycle, just because it's speed solving, it doesn't matter. And yeah, very simple solution. Very nicely well executed. Well done, Caliuresis. Normally... Oh no, wait, I have one more solve before I get to that. Sorry. The min cycle solve.
Oh, sorry. I've interrupted
Yeah,
your
I'm excited to see
with 26 cycles.
Alright, I should just be able to F10 this one. Alright, min cycles. Wait, that's pretty slick. You came up with that quickly.
Yo, compact.
Yeah, I got a brainwave.
Cycles brained. Yeah, check that out.
There we go.
Bang. Jeez, those are some clutch translations. Damn. Translation of the week. Because we didn't really get any in the other two metrics, so... Definitely translation of the week.
Thanks, I'm really pleased with what came out. I was like, oh, everything just works? Cool.
God, I can't believe you came up with this quickly. This is impressive.
Welcome to the brain of the cycles, main. You have no idea what goes on in there.
Your brain on the cycles metric.
You're buying on the cycles metric and it just crashes off a 6 points.
Oh, no, wait, it's not translation of the week, because it's a plus translation. Nah, sorry.
Hey,
I gotta take back
that's
crown.
a translation.
Give me that translation crown back, Biggie.
Yeah, try to go find a -1 then.
Which is ironic, because Biggie is usually one of the minus... No, wait, no, Biggie uses plus. Oh, no.
No.
Oh, no, you are a plus enjoyer. Sorry.
Accusations.
Sorry, I would have. Sorry, I accidentally complimented you there.
So you accidentally raised your respect for me intrinsically.
I did. I thought higher of you than that, Biggie. Okay. This is normally the part where I end the stream, but we have one more little dilly to resolve.
Let's go.
Let me.
Do you have those? Do you have them loaded?
This will actually take me a minute to reset this up because I gotta re-download and
Yeah.
I gotta find the puzzle because I don't actually have it open at the moment.
Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun.
There were a lot of contributors to the world's effort on this side. There was pretty consistent efforts from Uchpush, Kaliaresis, Ebenov, me, Goodbye Galaxy. RPO even threw some in. I don't want to miss someone if I've listed all these names, but I'm scrolling back to make sure.
Well, I
We had
just checked the Opus Magnum
262
channel.
very different costs.
Okay.
I just checked the Opus Magnum channel. What is up with
What?
that? The Opus Magnum channel where like OM show gives you a
Spiritual
fucking
who
roll.
abused the trust of the people who set up the bot and linked a different link instead of a solution video.
I see.
First guess of what different link you might link is probably the right guess.
There's a preview. There's an embed. I can see it.
Yeah, I'm talking to the people who didn't look in the channel first. I don't have as spicy of sauce, but I'll eat some spicy sauce if we don't beat Zerfax.
Aww.
The
What
best
was
I've
the
got right
exact
now is
best
some
again?
buffalo wings.
What was the exact bet again?
The exact bet was.
Beat Zorflax on some.
Yep, entire
Okay.
community had a week to beat me on some because it didn't happen last week. Why is my password not-
Unfortunate.
Tying you on some, does that count as...
Oh, I don't have the fucking puzzle downloaded. Okay, that's why it's not working. Because I deleted the puzzle because I usually do that when I move on.
I usually keep the old puzzles.
I have every single puzzle I have ever touched still in that same folder. Together with the stupid amount of surrender flare solutions.
Okay, the parser should work now.
We should look at how many surrender flare solutions compared to normal solutions I have.
Okay, did that work? Alright. Okay, so, eye drops of irritation. So, it's time to reveal.
Let me actually go see the number.
If we woo back up to Ebenov's 278 real quick. I never actually beat Ebenov on primary. I only beat him on instructions. So I was
Oh my god, you tied Ebenov.
I was also sitting on 278 as well this whole week. So that 278 to
Oh,
beat.
boy.
Oh!
Anyway, so if I showed this time last week, I would have felt really clever, but knowing how much better it gets makes me not... I've never been so sheepish to show a zeroth place solved before. But anyway, the thing that I did that practically no one else did last week was use a wheel arm.
Hexarm, go.
which I thought was a cool idea because you get this really cool debonding method, and Arm 2 does the thing that which pushes solve and the best solve does, which is just have the debonded, like, you debonds directly onto the bonder that the Arm 2 handles, and then Arm 3 kind of unearths it, and this is a cool solve. Little bit unfortunate, the last bond here costs me like a couple dozen cycles actually here. This is probably the main point of inefficiency, this last...
Yeah, it's got so much extra stuff to do.
Yeah, it's just this last bit. If I was a little disappointed I couldn't get rid of this, but otherwise, this was a really solid solve. So we could have just submitted the piston. Thank God the piston solve didn't win. I would have like made myself eat a second teaspoon out of shame if that was the solve. If a piston solve was the best solve. Oh my God. I would have been filthy with
already.
I would have been
We had
filthy
a
with
piston at
myself.
263. We only beat it by 1 with a better sum.
Alright,
Mm-hmm.
so that's my solve. I thought it was pretty cool. I wanted to say, like, because no one all week ever thought of a wheel arm. You guys thought of pistons before you thought of the wheel arm. I was a little disappointed. Thought maybe with a wheel arm, clever use, you might be able to get under 262, but maybe not. Also, because the 262s are really, like, set in stone. So it's hard to see how they improve by much.
But
Pardon
Will
me?
can't pivot though.
Yeah, you guys thought of pistons and multi-bonders, but not wheel arms. Oh, what the hell? What the hell kind of sum puzzle is this? Who designed this sum puzzle?
Who designed it?
Actually,
Alright, let's see it.
I could hear some echo. Alright, so the winning score was 262. They were submitted as showcase, so I also have to reset my showcase parser now. So let me just do that real quick. And I'll just leave this. I don't know. I thought this was a cool solve, and I was really proud of it. And then you guys beat it
It
by
is a cool
18.
solve. It is better than anyone came up with a week.
Yeah, I guess individually it was a really good effort. It's just that this puzzle
We
really
needed to all kind of fixate on Which Push's idea and drive its number down even further. Although Which Push dropped it at 266, so it was already pretty excellent.
I will say, I was not even slightly surprised that it was Which Push who found the improvement, because I knew because this solve also does it. I knew this was the direction to look in, because my solve does it as well, and it has a point of inefficiency where it struggles to get the last bond. Well, yeah, it struggles to get the ring fully bonded. So I would have also known that was where to look. So Which Push, having experience with that layout, kind of knew how good it was. I do remember when we were doing the week, actually showing the solves side by side. It was Goodbye Galaxy thought Which Push's idea was really good, and I'm like, yeah, it is really good. Ah, god damn it. Sorry for the delay, I just gotta... I didn't have this set up beforehand. Here we go. Okay, I've got them both. I don't actually know what the instruction counts are for either of them, so I don't know which 262 was better. I will just start with Cali Racises, I guess. So this is a 110, 115, 37.
This one's got quick maths. 19 periods, so 57 minus 6. 51 instructions.
The other one has 4 arms,
That
right?
takes arm.
Yeah.
The other one has 4 arms, but a much shorter period.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So of all things, the multi-bonder was so. You noticed in mine when I was getting that ring put together, I'm like, how? Because yeah, the main thing that I did that was better than all the other individual submissions, but not as good as what the community collectively found, was that there was this, like, we were talking about the CY method where you get that water bonded onto the air before putting the two halves together. But one thing that I and the community noticed eventually was that you can just have the water bonded onto the ring and do like this ringtail thing. And what the community found that I sure as shit didn't was that you just multi-bond the lol.
You get to do
Just
CY or
multi-bond.
ringtail, just depending on what order the atoms arrive. You can actually cheapen the other... Oh, wait, no. This one can't because the water goes directly into the middle. So multi-bonder wins on this 3-arm solve. But the other 262 does not actually have a multi-bonder.
No. So I guess we will show the other 262 and see...
And I think it's actually better. I think it's fewer than 51 instructions.
Oh god, so...
Oh, no.
Period 14.
56 minus 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's fewer instructions.
Yeah, that's alright. So this actually does take the cake on the
It's 44
instructions secondary.
instead of 51.
Alright, so similar
It takes
idea
the
here,
cake.
but it just kind of uses a bit of extra area, which is kind of funny how area ended up not mattering that much when it comes to the collective efforts of the community, because the other solve was 37, this is a 47, but this solve is just so goddamn fast at just 130.
Yeah.
That is for reference faster than Biggie's solve, which I was like questioning whether it was too fast to be like useful for some, but this is faster than that, but manages to keep the cost at 130G. And 47 area, we might, you know, that's still kind of, that's slightly below the average of what most of the solves were. So 47 is not that bad. It's just that 37 is a stellar area score.
I'm shocked by like it doesn't make sense to me how all of the atoms are shoved through those 2 gaps that fast. But I'm looking at it.
It's
It's worth
happening.
noting that the original
You better believe it.
256 which Bush dropped was 140 cost, 86 cycles, and 40 area, and we managed to make a small local adjustment to get it down to 130, 85, but much higher area.
Yeah, I think you saved on like, you saved on like a
We
bonder or
replaced
something.
multi-bonder with 2 bonders, but had to move a little.
Yeah, because he could use a multi-bonder, it would fit, and I think that's what Witch Push had. But by sacrificing area, you can just save on a bonder. And the area's not that bad just because it was already so compact to begin with. So that's area you are willing to sacrifice. And also arm 1 needs to swing in that direction anyway.
The 263 that we had, which used a piston, was a 2P solution, so it certainly would not be better on Sum 4.
Yeah, right.
Although I can't promise that this is good on Sum 4 compared to maybe the best Sum 4.
Yeah, Sum 4's a little different, I think. I don't know how you'd go about Sum 4 as opposed to this. Or whether anything that was shown throughout the week was a better Sum 4 than this. Well, as this runs, I will be back with my habanero sauce.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have it prepared the moment you found out that that they beat your soul.
Well, I mean, it's just in the kitchen. I just need to like grab that in a teaspoon. It'll take 20 seconds.
Alright.
But I didn't want to like say anything, as in like, oh, by the way, the habanero sauce is sitting on my desk, and like I didn't want to do that because then that would have led people to believe that I lost, and I wanted to maintain the illusion for just a little while longer that I did not have that I would not have to eat habanero sauce. I will be back.
Good luck.
I'll order some spicy food this weekend in honor. I won't do the sauce bet today because we won, but I will eat some spicy food in honor.
I have buffalo wings in the fridge. I think I can eat some of those.
I don't think I have any hot sauce anymore. Honestly, I don't feel like I should be taking a spoonful of any flavor of hot sauce right now, given I'm supposed to be going to bed in like ETA minus 12 minutes ago.
Alright, I also brought like 2/3 of a liter of milk.
I was worried you were going to say water. I was like, do you know that it has to be a base?
No, yeah, I heard sour cream is even slightly better, but milk should be alright. I'll just chug it. Or more accurately, I think I'll just leave it in my mouth for as long as I can. Okay, I did actually try this hot sauce. I didn't want to say that throughout the week because that would have also implied I was losing, but because I wanted you guys to like really push the score down as far as you could go. I didn't want to be like, oh this sauce is going to be pretty hot, and have you guys, oh, he's lost the bet. Okay, we don't have to improve. So I want to see how low it could go, because this is such these are such an awesome solves. This is the most...
attitude of the chat still was being like, I think we're one big drop away from getting him.
Yeah, I think if you guys mentioned
262 and we thought we had one more big drop and then we were good.
Yeah, if you guys, like one more big drop and you would have been like, if you found like a 258, you would have been like, yeah, we got him easy. No, not even a slight question about it. But yeah, at 262, there was still that slight question because you guys had multiple 262s. But no, this is such a, I don't know, this is very accidentally successful player versus world challenge. We didn't plan for it at all, but it had all the trappings of, and all the things that made the previous Biggie versus the world so successful, in that you were kind of, because I had this zeros place solved, the allure of it built up, that you were kind of, you weren't coming up against just me, you were coming up against the idea of like a perfect me.
Mood.
And
like we didn't quite meet up to
the image of perfection.
Right, because like the community had a week to like as individuals or as small teams come up with something, and you couldn't do it, so had to really come together and smash out a banger of a solve. And you guys had heaps. By the end of the week, it was like anything above 270 wasn't really gonna be, touchy whether that's worth mentioning, because you guys were finding so many 260 whatever solves.
So have you had the hot sauce
really
yet?
expensive 5 arms, one of them is a piston, 270. And there's like, yeah, that's way off of a GC curve. Why would you even talk about it?
Okay, I've been trying to get all this out of the way before I have the hot sauce, because I don't expect to be able to talk. So I think I've danced around it long enough. I tried this hot sauce earlier in the week. I thought it was tasty when you have it in like tiny little dabbles.
Time for a teaspoon. Let's go.
All right, it's gonna. All right. Here. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's me tapping the bottle against the spoon.
How is it?
All right. Ready? Bottoms up.
Good luck.
Mouth drops of irritation.
It's
Cartoon style.
It is slowly but surely getting worse.
Are you enjoying it, Starbucks?
Oh, it's still getting. It's only getting worse. It's not getting better.
Just like that, I say yes.
Oh, it
Enjoy your hot sauce.
just gets worse.
Oh yeah, it does that.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you feeling it? Is it your eyes, your throat, your stomach?
Throat and mouth.
Makes sense, yeah.
Oh. Oh, you got it in your throat. Oh, you poor little thing.
Oh. Yes, I have milk. I've already drank it.
Oh. Oh. Stars flags.
You guys don't need to
no.
feel. You people do not need to feel bad.
But I will.
You had no sympathy, Stephen, when eating tissues. You don't. You don't need one now.
Hmm.
And that should be all for the. That should actually be all for the stream now.
All right, yeah. Let me
Mm-hmm.
close the stream.
So what's the next bet gonna be, huh?
That gonna be. Anybody got any bets for viscous adhesive?
Yeah, I'm gonna have a teaspoon of glue. No, I won't have a teaspoon of glue.
Oh no!
Oh. I'm gonna have to do this slowly.
Oh.
I can't talk for very long without pain.
And streaming here.
Oh.
It's all right, Steven.
You've activated Steven's inner mode.
Pathetic little
How dare
shut
you?
Oh shit. Oh fuck! I need some tissues. So.
No, I don't. You don't need to eat the tissues. That's a different bet.
No. I think the tissues would almost help.
Oh, I fucking swear. If we just hear you go, I think I need some tissues, and then start hearing crumpling noises as you eat the fucking.
Yeah, that can absorb the hot sauce, right?
Just dunk the tissues in some milk and then eat them. Easy.
No, knowing what Zorflex told us about actually eating the tissues, and from my own experience, the tissues being wet makes it worse.
Mm-hmm.
Did you people see Grimmy's post a while ago? It was
Huh?
Which one?
it was the
Which
one where the person like marinades the tissue in like this really
Oh,
tasty,
yeah, it's-
really tasty
yeah, I see
curry,
that for that.
and the person ate it like without a second thought.
That's probably a softer tissue, I hope.
How's
Oh,
the
yeah, I
mango?
saw that.
How's the mango? I couldn't taste either the mango or the lemon at all. Maybe I could taste a bit of lemon in the first like 10 seconds.
Wait, what's the mango and lemon reference?
That's the flavor of my habanero hot sauce.
Oh, okay.
There's meant to be
Oh.
extra mango and lemon involved.
Down.
But as opposed to mango and lemon, you're only feeling pain.
Mostly pain.
Mm-hmm.
For the first like 10, 20 seconds, it was genuinely tasty though.
I mean, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And just
They're
hot
not
sauce.
just gonna
Yeah.
make a hot-
Hot sauce
They're
is
gonna make the hot sauce taste good.
Yeah, maybe you'll taste it more if you take a second swig.
yeah. Maybe I should just taste it again just to give you people a real like more accurate idea of the taste.
Uh-huh. Yeah, exactly.
This is a actually good hot. All right, it's cooling down. It is. I can talk a bit more now.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Well done. You survived.
Actually, it's
You're so
pronounced coiling.
What?
It's pronounced coiling.
Toiling.
Cooling down. That's the word. It's coiling.
Oh yeah, pronounced Quellen.
Anyway, I'm very. I don't regret that hot sauce bet even slightly. It was a lot more painful than the tissue bet, but like it's gonna
was
be
shorter.
over. It's like gonna be over. The spice will go away completely in about 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Don't need to worry about the extra fiber intake.
Alright. Thank you all for joining me on this stream. This was a very good stream. You people came up with a lot of excellent solves for both metrics and for a puzzle that we didn't even intend to continue playing, but ended up being an accidentally awesome Zorflex vs. the World challenge. Some edition.
Even though there was like only a few instructions of a difference.
Yeah, even though I only beat Ebenov by like 7 instructions. I never actually beat him on primary. So you people cleared me comfortably. Alright. Thank you for joining me. I will see you this time next week with viscous adhesive.
Viscous adhesive.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you, everyone, for playing my puzzle.
Thank you for making the puzzle and this series as a whole.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
It was a
It
fun
was
puzzle.
enjoyable to watch. Yeah.